Amidst the skeletal ruins of the apocalypse, where monsters prowl every corner, a heavy truck roars as it devours the desolate highway. Inside, two survivors race against fate, with one desperate goal, reuniting with their families before their time finally runs out. The beasts are gaining ground fast, but Pablo doesn't flinch. He flings the back door open and summons his subspace rift. Without wasting a single heartbeat, he begins hurling massive piles of heavy scrap metal at the monstrosities swarming through the carnage. Flying refrigerators prove particularly lethal. Those mutant hounds are getting flattened, shredded, and smeared across the scorched asphalt. With the threat neutralized, the road clears. A relaxed Pablo pulls an ice-cold Coca-Cola straight from the depths of his pocket dimension. He tosses a donut to the driver, offering a brief sanctuary after the chaos. But this isn't just some basic storage space. It's a massive logistics hub, capable of duplicating resources infinitely, all under his absolute godlike command. He can seek refuge there whenever he wants, or bring his allies into the fortress. But one burning question remains. How did he score such a broken ability? Flashback to just days ago, when Pablo was a mere overworked office drone. He vents to his coworker a literal tin can robot. He rambles endlessly, but the soulless machine doesn't understand a single word. It ignores him completely in this cold facility dominated by heartless artificial intelligence units. That's the peak of his social life. He lets out a heavy sigh, utterly drained by the metallic silence and crushing isolation. He can't help but regret ending up here. Just 2 months ago, his life was buzzing with hope and ambition. Fresh out of the military, those dreams shattered instantly when a text from his parents changed everything forever. They skipped town, leaving him stranded in a cramped studio apartment right next to his university campus. Even with 6 months of rent covered and some military savings, he still desperately needed a steady paycheck to survive. Job hunting seemed easy in his head until reality delivered a brutal reality check. Every single application was met with cold rejection. He was ghosted before he even got an interview. The reason he didn't have 20 years of experience at age 20. A month later, desperation peaked. He begged his sisters for some support, but they just roasted him and laughed at his struggle. Still, one of them threw him a bone: try his luck at those automated delivery hubs run by advanced AI. The gig was easy enough. That's how he ended up surrounded by scrap metal talking to bots instead of actual humans. While lost in thought, his manager spawns out of nowhere, complaining that the inventory is completely out of tuna cans. However, the system still shows stock. He's ordered to check the deep storage area before the boss vanishes instantly. He leaves before Pablo can even blink. The guy is clearly even colder and more robotic than the actual machines. Regardless, he heads to the warehouse depths and finally spots the missing crates. Then a sharp, heavy click echoes. Locked in. His manager accidentally sealed the exit. Pablo tries his phone, but there isn't a single bar of signal. After a moment, he shrugs it off and decides to chill. Honestly, the warehouse isn't the worst place to hang out. He even snaps a selfie for his sister. Then the world shifts. She replies, saying a massive building just collapsed nearby. It happened right outside her house. She calls him instantly, but as soon as he picks up, the entire facility quakes. Alarms scream everywhere. Chaos erupts as evacuation orders blare, leaving a desperate Pablo frantically pounding against the locked steel door. He bellows for help, but only silence answers. Then the ultimate betrayal: his phone battery hits 0%. Suddenly, something starts violently thrashing against the door from the other side. Our boy isn't stupid. He goes dead silent. One sound, and he's toast. Instead of losing his cool and panicking, he sits tight and waits for the storm to pass. Eventually, the banging stops. 3 days crawl by. He realizes the world outside has likely turned into a living nightmare. No rescue team is coming. Ironically, being trapped in this metal box is the only thing that's kept him alive. Using his final bit of juice, he pings his sisters, praying for a military extraction squad to save him soon. But then a glowing notification appears. The system has chosen him, awakening a unique, high-tier hidden ability. The screen describes a subspace storage skill. Pablo stares at the floating text and reaches one logical conclusion. He's officially lost his mind. But why not play along? He gives the system a daring, impossible command. He orders the entire logistics center to be stored in his subspace. The system asks for one final confirmation. He confirms, and in a flash, the whole building vanishes. For the first time in 3 days, Pablito sees daylight. He realizes the world has gone to hell. Skyscrapers are dust, and a haunting silence now grips the ruined landscape. Monsters now rule the concrete jungle. He must master this broken power before he becomes another victim of the waste. This is how Pablo's apocalyptic journey begins, using an infinite warehouse to survive and hunt down his missing family. The system pings a delay warning, but Pablo's way too locked in to care. While scanning the wreckage, a monstrous shadow looms over him. He doesn't even need to turn. Pure survival instinct kicks in. He bolts, screaming for backup while glancing over his shoulder. Confirmed. A massive ogre is closing the gap, and it'll be on him in seconds. Just as the beast goes for the kill, the sync hits 100%. The prompt flashes. Pablo smashes accept. Instantly, a portal swallows him, warping him into his subspace. The ogre hits air. He watches the beast through the rift, but it's hard locked out without his say-so. But that's not the crazy part. Pablo realizes he's standing inside the massive logistics hub, the one he stored away as a total joke. Suddenly, a notification blasts his mind. He's cleared the tutorial and unlocked his personal subspace. Time for the reward. A mana stone drops, but he's clueless on its use. Outside, the ogre keeps hammering the door. The system confirms the beast is stuck outside unless Pablo opens the gate. Right then, scanning the facility's data, he freezes. Something in the stats looks dead wrong. Only 2 minutes of juice remains. He turns to Pax, demanding an explanation. Pax reveals the subspace is a power-hungry beast, and mana stones are its only food. Just one stone keeps this entire place buzzing for 24 hours straight. Watching Pax speak, he notices his metallic buddy is getting a major IQ boost. Suddenly, the lights flicker and die. Pax warns that zero power means catastrophic failure. The entire stock of fresh food and meat is now at risk. This facility is a massive vault for high-grade vegetables and perishables. It clicks, in this hellscape food is the ultimate currency for survival. He grills Pax on how to farm more mana stones. The answer is brutal. Kill or be killed. Left with no choice, he burns his only stone to jumpstart the system. But he needs gear to face those freaks. He scavenges through some heavy-duty toolboxes. Melee is a suicide mission. He decides to stay back and look for projectiles. Looking at these wrenches and hammers, he doubts they'll even scratch that titan. Whatever, it's all he's got. He doesn't need a one-tap, just a chance. Suppressing his nerves, he hurls an axe. It connects, but the impact barely tickles the monster's muscle. He digs back into the crate for more. Only one axe left. He tells Pax to scan the inventory while eyeing some heavier debris. Maybe he can aim for the joints. Pax finishes the search. 15 axes available. Pablo pauses, realizing he needs to make every shot count. But wait, the count isn't dropping. He's been throwing, but the stash stays full. He sprints to the racks and sees axes everywhere. Pax drops the game-changing info. Item counts never drop here. Translation: he's got an infinite glitch for weaponry. That means he can spam axes like a human machine gun without worry. Still, the ogre is taking the hits like a champ. These are just love taps. That's when Pax offers an upgrade, an auto-launch feature to strike outside. The skill has a 30-second cooldown, but leveling up will make it faster. He just has to shout, send and focus. Time to test the firepower. Boom, an axe rockets out like a railgun, slamming into the ogre's skull. The beast goes down cold. Pablo stands there, jaw dropped at the carnage. Pax notes the launch speed is capped at 40 miles per hour, but he can crank it to 50 now. To max this out, he'll need a mountain of mana stones. The path is clear. Mastering the game's mechanics, he gears up for the grind, clutching his map like a lifeline. Now, inside the facility, he plots his path and chooses his ride. A sleek electric bike for stealth. Going on foot is a death sentence, so he summons the bike from his subspace without hesitation. With a hero's resolve, he tells them to hold on. He's coming to save the day. 30 minutes later, 12 orcs are toast. Amidst the carnage, he stumbles upon a game-changing secret. His subspace skill is straight up broken. He's untouchable inside while raining lethal projectiles on his enemies. He plays it smart, navigating the 30-second cooldown and range limits with tactical precision. He buffs his stats with mana stones fueled by a recovery skill that's basically a cheat code. Items snap back to him automatically, letting him land double hits. It's not just for tools either. He even yanks back mana stones, meaning he never has to leave his safe zone. Peak efficiency. With 13 stones, bank survival is a breeze as long as the base stays powered. He leaves the subspace to rescue his family, but the wasteland has other plans. Something catches his eye, a massive shadow soaring through the sky. A new challenger appeared. Ogres aren't the only threat now. As he watches the winged beast, a chilling scream echoes nearby. Someone's in trouble. Just as he feared, an old man is fleeing a monstrous bird's fury. The man is too slow. The creature slams him down, closing in for the final kill. Another survivor tries to distract the beast, but the monster stays locked on its helpless prey. He wonders if it's picking the weakest link. He grips his knife, knowing he won't leave a scratch. Suddenly, the vibe shifts. A blinding light cuts through the chaos, racing toward them from afar. Before anyone can blink, a flying axe splits the air and drops the bird dead instantly. The boy rolls up coolly on his e-bike, casually asking if they're still in one piece. They ask if he's a soldier, but he points to his uniform. He's just a logistics worker. The men are floored. Anyone who one-shots a monster like that has to be high tier. One guy confesses his skill is just driving, which has been useless in this apocalypse. Our hero cuts to the chase, asking if there are any other survivors hiding nearby. They explain the warehouse became a buffet for monsters once people gathered for food. Total bloodbath. Only 15 survivors remain hunkered down in the district terminal's basement, praying for safety. They were scouting supply routes when the warehouse literally vanished into thin air without warning. Seeing his insane strength, the men offer him a spot in their makeshift survival group. He plays it cool, deciding to tag along. He needs intel, and these guys are his lead. He knows trusting strangers is a gamble, but he's always got an ace up his sleeve. He hasn't tested his full potential, but he can always vanish back into his subspace. Everything seems fine until they hit the basement. A mysterious guy is farming aura from a corpse. One man steps forward to check the situation, making sure the coast is finally clear. The aura farmer is their leader Chalo Perez, who explains a stray ogre wandered in. Luckily, they intercepted the beast and took it down before it could cause a massacre. No one got hurt, but it's a grim reminder that nowhere is truly safe anymore. Suddenly, the leader spots our protagonist watching from the shadows and demands an identity. The survivor explains this logistics worker is the one who saved them from the giant bird. He starts hyping our boy up, raving about his power. The crowd is definitely impressed. A woman rushes over, grabbing his hands with gratitude. Pablo is feeling the ultimate awkwardness. He tries to play it down, but she's caught in the moment and won't let go. She straight up asks if he's single. Thankfully, Chalo steps in to end the awkward interrogation. He explains the men are family and introduces himself as the branch manager in charge. After the formalities, he details their supplies and how they're handling security in this hellscape. But the man is still clueless about the disaster at the warehouse. A subordinate delivers the grim news: the food is gone. It hits them like a freezing shock. That stash was their lifeline. Without it, the rules of survival have been completely rewritten. The leader demands they dig the tunnel immediately. It went from a plan to a desperate race. With starvation looming, the group locks in. Meanwhile, our boy is totally out of the loop. He asks what the hype is. The man explains there are other survivor camps out there. You need wheels to reach them, but every exit is blocked except for that one tunnel. But it's crawling with winged freaks. They've been starving themselves just to prep for this mission. They're out of time. Pablo tells him he's not forced to tag along with them. He could just dip on his bike, but our boy knows he needs a much better ride. The tunnel is his only path. Deep down, he knows he could solo those monsters easily. But he keeps his powers hidden. These guys seem chill, but it's still a brutal apocalypse. Flexing too hard is risky. Instead, he offers to scout the tunnel to check the vibes. His real plan: slaughter every monster himself, so no one else has to risk their lives. After the ogre fight, he'd scouted the system for upgrades and found some cracked skills. Precision delivery, dual item send, and auto ship. Unlocking them costs 10 mana stones. He sat on them until now. With a smirk, he realizes it's finally time to level up. The mission is simple: clear the tunnel alone and hoard every mana stone he can find. It's the ultimate power play, but things take a weird turn very quickly. Instead of going solo, he's stuck with the same guy driving the motorcycle. The man insists it's too dangerous to go alone, even if our boy saved him before. This guy has the driving skill. Our boy asks if any system pop-ups appeared lately. He only saw one, but now he feels like he can drive anything with wheels. He's basically an apocalypse Uber driver. Even our main character is starting to doubt his sanity. He suggests walking if the driving gets sketchy, but the man just hops on the bars. He starts riding the bike like a skateboard, claiming he can see the road better. Our boy is hanging on for dear life, unable to see a single thing ahead of them. Suddenly, a monster appears. The driver panics, but they don't stop. They strike mid-air. They decapitate the beast at full speed. One monster down, an entire swarm to go. They finally reach the tunnel, but the relief is short-lived. More monsters are waiting. Fear paralyzes the driver. He starts counting down what he thinks are his final seconds. Before they're shredded, our main character opens the system and fast-tracks his delivery skill. He slashes the cooldown time just as the monsters lunge for the driver's throat. Send Pablo roars, deleting both monsters instantly. The driver turns around in total shock. He's speechless. Our protagonist is just standing there next to a glowing, high-tech portal. Our boy burns a mana stone to shave 5 seconds off his skill's cooldown. He pushes it to the limit, knowing he'll need to evolve his subspace to get faster. He stashes the stones and tells the man to stay behind him. The real hunt begins. The driver looks up and spots 2 more winged terrors diving at them. But something is wrong. The creatures can't even touch them. Our main character acts fast. He summons an axe, and as a monster attacks, he pulls it back into his void. A storm of steel erupts from the subspace. The driver is stunned by this broken power. It's clear now our boy could walk through this death trap without breaking a sweat. While they need trucks and supplies, this guy doesn't even need a vehicle to dominate. The driver can't help but wonder just how far does this monster plan to go. Crackling electricity, the winged beasts vanish instantly. Then the man gathers the glowing mana stones left behind. He's stunned. He had zero clue these powerful artifacts even existed in this apocalyptic chaos. These stones boost stats. Totally shook, the driver asks if Pablo can actually clear this massive tunnel solo. With god-tier power at his fingertips, our hero just smirks. He knows exactly what he's capable of. His silence makes the driver sweat. The tension in the air is straight up suffocating right now. Pablo clarifies his vibe: he just wanted a solo test drive. Flexing his OP skills wasn't the plan. The driver feels like a total clown. He apologizes for blowing Pablo's low-key cover like that. It's cool, Pablo shrugs. Without the guy's help, finding this shortcut would have been a total nightmare. As they head back, the driver asks about the destination. Pablo reveals the grand plan. First stop Gangnam. Final goal, Suyeongbu. He's on a mission to reunite with his family at any cost. That hits home. The driver shouts that he's headed the same way. It feels like destiny. His family is halfway there. He knows clearing the tunnel is only half the battle for a normie. Pablo, however, shreds monsters like paper. Without him, the driver is basically a walking snack. He proposes an alliance. He handles the wheel while our boy brings the heat. The protagonist mulls it over. Honestly, this partnership is actually a pretty sweet bargain. The guy's a pro driver. Plus, having a partner helps Pablo keep his insane powers under wraps. He accepts, but with one condition. He takes on the entire tunnel raid completely solo. No snitching on his skills. The driver agrees instantly, promising to handle the rest of the crew. Suddenly, the driver is glazing our hero hard. He tells everyone Pablo is basically a living legend. Now everyone knows he's carrying. Pablo stands there in awkward silence, feeling the weight of the spotlight. This is a massive headache. But since the cat's out of the bag, he's got to commit now. He officially announces it. The tunnel cleanup starts tomorrow, at first light. No turning back. Food is drying up fast. Chelo walks up, looking serious about the upcoming suicide mission. We won't get in your way, he promises. They want to pay him back for risking everything. They offer a mountain of precious food. Pablo gets nervous seeing their limited stash. I can't take this, he insists. But the driver stands firm. Everyone needs a win right now. You've got family to protect too. That one sentence hits Pablo right in the feels. Are they okay? The group drinks to their last night of uncertainty, hoping for a miracle tomorrow. Dawn breaks. Pablo gears up, mounting his trusty bike for a dive into the dark abyss. I'll be back in a flash. The survivors watch him go, putting their lives in his hands. He revs into the dark. One look inside reveals dozens of beasts lurking in the shadows. Monsters roam everywhere. Suddenly, a core memory flashes before his eyes. He's bickering with his sister again. His dad watches them wearing a warm, nostalgic smile. You two are inseparable, Dad laughs. As an only child, he's always low-key jealous of them. He's convinced that one day they'll realize family is the only thing that truly matters. Suddenly, Mom interrupts the deep talk. It's dinner time, and Dad's officially on kitchen duty. Dad bails to help. Pablo sits there soaking in the peace of a world before the fall. The memory fades. Back in the present, the night before, the raid is heavy with grief. He watches from the shadows. People are sobbing, terrified they'll never see their loved ones again. The driver wakes up and finds Pablo working. He's quietly loading up the trucks. What are you doing? The hero is keeping the loads light for a faster escape. He's got enough loot anyway. Speed is the priority for tomorrow's dangerous breakout. The driver is floored. Who does this for strangers? Then the real raid finally begins. Pablo cuts through monsters like a hot knife through butter. He needs more space though. If he hits level 2, he can hide 20 people in his subspace. That's a game changer. But he's hunting for 100 monostones, a jackpot he's nowhere near hitting even if he wipes out every last bird here. Still, the grind is non-negotiable. To keep his family breathing in this hellscape, he needs that level up sooner rather than later. Just as his thoughts drift, a cold shiver runs down his spine. From the darkness, a lone winged predator watches him. This thing isn't like the others. Its twisted form and suffocating aura scream boss monster. Back at the surface, the group is on edge. They're dying to help, but they'd just be dead weight in there. Suddenly, a shadow emerges. It's him drenched head to toe in monster blood, looking like he crawled out of a nightmare. For a heartbeat, pure terror grips the crowd. Then he cracks a confident smirk, and the tension snaps into victory. Mission accomplished. The path is clear. Chelo gives a quick, heavy-hearted farewell to the group before they head out. The kid drops a cryptic hint he's left a surprise in the cargo bays if things go south for them. Just pop the hatch, he says, as they pull away. Even then, his mind is stuck on that freakish bird. That monster slipped through his fingers. He's convinced it was their leader, or something even worse, lurking in the dark. Further down the road, the tires crunch past the cold remains of a fallen soldier, but the truck doesn't slow. No one pulls over. In this new world, corpses are just scenery. He realizes how easily he could be them. If he were still wearing a military uniform, that could have been his body rotting in the dirt right now. His grim reflections are cut short by a wall of barbed wire, a desperate military attempt to bottleneck the monster tide. The driver panics, searching for a detour, but the kid's eyes are locked on the horizon with a different plan. Through the haze, a horde of monsters comes into focus. To him, this isn't a trap, it's a literal XP farm. Can we squeeze through that narrow sidewalk? He asks. The driver nods, trembling, and that's the green light he needed. With a predatory spark, he barks the order to floor it. The driver's heart does cardio as horror unfolds ahead. Up ahead, a massive ogre is locked in a brutal deathmatch against a pack of demonic dog-like beasts. The giant swings with primal fury, holding his own for a split second against the overwhelming vicious tide. But numbers don't lie. The pack swarms, snapping at his heels, until the behemoth is completely boxed in and doomed. In a flash of gore, the mighty ogre is reduced to a snack. The sheer brutality freezes the driver's blood. Sweat pours down the driver's face as he begs to turn back, convinced they're driving straight into a meat grinder. The kid doesn't even blink. He calmly explains that the right terrain is the ultimate cheat code for victory. High ground and choke points define the map. Just like the online games he used to dominate, positioning is everything. Positioning and frame-perfect timing, he mutters. That's how you flip the script on a losing battle. His friend can't wrap his head around gamer logic here, but Pablo's icy confidence eventually wins him over. Back it up to that ledge, the kid commands. Reluctantly, the driver slams it into reverse tires, screaming. The engine's roar is a dinner bell. The monster pack abandons their buffet and fixes their hungry gaze on them. Time to clock in. He fires up his system, burning 10 mana stones to kickstart his auto-delivery skill. He's down to 27 stones now. From the truck bed, he cranks the delivery speed to the absolute max. He dumps the remaining crystals in. The delivery velocity screams from 70 to 100 kilometers per hour. The portal rips open. He whistles at the beasts, taunting the bloodthirsty pack to come and get some. The world explodes into chaos. The hellhounds lunge forward, a blur of fur and fangs closing the gap fast. They're almost on him when the system notification pings, "Special delivery industrial refrigerator incoming." A massive hunk of steel slams into the lead monster, pancaking it. And he's just getting started with this. Every few seconds, another fridge missiles out. In an instant, a dozen beasts are crushed into the hot asphalt. 12 mana stones harvested. He grins as the loot starts piling up in his inventory. This is going better than he imagined. His growth since that first tunnel fight is absolutely insane. He could have used his buffed axes, but he's learned his lesson about fighting these high-speed types head-on. Those twitchy monsters are masters at dodging. One slip-up with an axe, and it's game over for him. Instead, he unlocked the precision delivery perk, a straight-line bombardment that leaves the enemy nowhere to hide. As long as they're in his sights, they're toast. This strategy is way safer than getting up close. Trying to outswing those hounds would have been suicide. Their insane agility would have turned him into kibble instantly. These beasts don't flinch even as their kin fall. Our hero realizes he only has seconds before the next wave swarms him. Going hand-to-hand is suicide. Then the power gap becomes undeniable. A flying fridge doesn't just hit, it obliterates everything in its path, crushing their momentum instantly. He barely lifts a finger. The system handles the slaughter. As the loop continues, the boy actually relaxes. Boredom kicks in. He commands his bot assistants to keep the deliveries coming, and they obey without question. The pack keeps lunging, only to be flattened by another heavy appliance falling from the sky. From the driver's seat, his friend watches in pure terror. He can't wrap his head around this. This guy is spamming fridges like crazy. He thought axes were the main weapon, not infinite kitchen appliances. Unlike the axes, he doesn't even bother retrieving them. He just summons a never-ending stream of steel. Suddenly, the side door slides open. The protagonist calmly steps out and asks if he's hungry. Stunned, the driver demands answers. Is his inventory actually limitless? Pablo just looks genuinely confused for a moment. As if the answer was obvious, he asks if he hadn't noticed. The driver quickly clears the air. He figured he was just recycling the same axes, not conjuring brand new ones every single time. The boy bursts out laughing, explaining he only picked them up to prevent accidents. Leaving sharp blades around could injure someone. That was the only reason. Hearing this, the driver shudders and asks one more time, "Are resources truly bottomless?" His friend confirms it nonchalantly before quickly switching gears back to the menu. Still shaking, the driver orders a Coke Zero and a donut. Once they're settled back inside the vehicle, he bows his head in apology. He admits he never truly grasped the scale of the protagonist's power. Guilt weighs on him for accepting all this protection and food without knowing the full truth. The hero just offers a warm smile, reminding him of the day he chose to join the tunnel patrol. That memory is precious. He treasures the trust his friend showed and vows to always have his back. Whenever he's in need, the driver touched expresses his own thanks for the protection and for clearing the monsters. Now they can head home early. Once they cross the bridge, it's only a 1-hour drive left. Our hero beams at the thought of seeing family, yet he senses his friend's lingering anxiety about what they might find. To lighten the mood, he eyes the man's tattered clothes and offers a makeover, even as the war rages outside. When asked about his style, the driver hesitates for a second, doubting the system can actually pull off his vision. However, just a few heartbeats later, he's decked out in an epic set, looking like a legendary veteran hunter. Right after that transformation, the boy glances back and sees only a couple of stragglers left. The rest are history. Suddenly, the newly dripped-out driver slams the gear and floors it. The truck rockets forward instantly. Kicking up a massive dust cloud, they storm the bridge. Even the protagonist is caught off guard by those sudden professional driving skills. The driver yells to hold on, promising to cut the time down. They'll make it in 20 minutes instead of an hour. The truck tilts dangerously at every turn. It balances on two wheels, shaking violently from side to side. It doesn't take very long before the wild ride takes its toll and the boy starts feeling nauseous. But then suddenly, the vehicle screeches to a halt. Stepping out, the scenery hits them hard. Massive skyscrapers loom ahead, but they're completely shattered, looking like they've been abandoned for centuries. Every structure is in ruins. Yet something is terrifyingly wrong, not a single corpse or bone in sight. The place feels hollow, a sense of total isolation, far grimmer than the main street where human life at least left traces. Moments later, the driver finally reaches his front door. But standing there, sheer terror paralyzes him. His hands tremble, unable to punch the code. Dread consumes him as he imagines the worst, wondering what he'll do if his family is gone. Behind him, the hero watches in silence, understanding the weight of this moment. This man drove like a demon for 20 minutes, but now he can't take a single step. The reason is clear when there's a sliver of hope, that loved ones are still alive. No one wants to shatter that dream by opening the door themselves. Sensing the driver's paralyzing fear, Pablo steps up to ring the bell. The man nods, but facing a brutal reality is never easy. Pablo decides he must open that door himself. He steals one last glance back. Suddenly, before he can move, the lock clicks open alone. Both men freeze in total shock. Standing there in the doorway are a woman and child. The wife screams her husband's name as the little girl sprints forward, crying for her daddy. Seeing them safe, the driver's heart finally shatters. Tears begin streaming down his weathered face. As the family reunites in a tearful embrace, Pablo feels a surge of genuine, pure joy. With his family finally safe, the man curiously asks his wife why she opened the door. She heard noises and saw them through the peephole. Overwhelmed, he tells them he is grateful. Sobbing, the daughter scolds her father for taking so long to finally come back home. The wife finally notices the stranger. The driver introduces Pablo as the hero who saved him. He calls Pablo their family's savior, but in that exact moment, the world begins to tilt. Everything starts spinning for Pablo. He suddenly collapses as the voices around him fade into static. Fighting to stay awake, he mumbles in disbelief. He refuses to go down like this. The driver panics, screaming for help. Suddenly, the scene shifts back to Pablo's own childhood. He sees his younger self with his father asking why he isn't crying for his grandmother. His father smiles gently, explaining that goodbyes hold more than just sadness. As years go by, memories of love, rage, and regret blur together. In the end, only gratitude should remain, not just the pain. Confused, the boy asks what that gratitude means. His father gently answers, "It is the thanks for knowing selfless true love." He adds that loving someone is never easy. Neither giving nor receiving it is simple. One day he will understand. Then the vision shifts. A brighter memory surfaces. He is having a chaotic pillow fight with his sister Sol. She hits him so hard he gets a swollen eye. He yells, but she just laughs. Calling him a total crybaby, she mocks him. He storms off, absolutely fuming and seeking revenge. He threatens to tell their dad while she gloats, but Dad just brushes the incident off. He explains these fights prove their sibling bond. He promises that one day he will see. He will understand family and real love. Suddenly, his mother bursts out from the kitchen. She scolds his father for lecturing instead of helping with dinner while she sets the table. She calls everyone to eat, yelling at Luna to drop her phone. Luna finally joins them. Mom teases her, joking that she must have a secret boyfriend since she is always texting. Blushing hard, Luna denies it, claiming she is just a middle schooler talking to her friends. Before the chatter continues, the TV blares with a commentator screaming about a brutal fight. Everyone's eyes glue to the screen. While his older sister cringes, Sol is totally hooked. Sol stares in awe. Her brother reminds her that high school is coming for her soon. He suggests she join the boxing club. She agrees instantly, showing off her natural fighting spirit. She brags that is exactly why she picked that school. Then the focus shifts back. He is about to start middle school and feels a massive wave of relief. Finally free. He thinks he is free from Sol. But on day one, he notices something is off. Everyone has crisp new uniforms. His is a baggy, worn-out hand-me-down. Still, he feels happy. He is just glad to be there. Time flies, and soon he is in high school. But trouble finds him again. 4 bullies corner him for a brutal beatdown. No mercy. As the leader swings for the final blow, a hand catches his wrist. It is Sol. With a chilling, disappointed glare, she sees his battered state. "Starting tomorrow," she says coldly. "You are training with me." Pablo's heart sinks. He knows the truth. Her training will be absolute hell. Life moves on until one day massive news hits. His big sister just crushed it, accepted into nursing school. Pops announces the news, practically glowing with pride, leaving the siblings totally shook. Time blurs by until one night, while he's grinding away at his desk, Dad calls out, his voice heavy. The time has come. Confused, he stares until an official letter is handed over. One look, and his heart hits overdrive. The draft notice. Mandatory military service. Just like that day arrives. Seeing his fresh buzz cut, his sister absolutely loses it, roasting him without a shred of mercy. Mom's vibe is different, pure worry. She begs him to stay safe and come home in one piece. After a bittersweet goodbye, he heads out with the other recruits. His fam puts on brave smiles, but the second he's out of sight, the mask slips, and he breaks down in tears. Flash forward to the present. He's slowly drifting back to consciousness. He's sinking into a plush pillow echo inside some random house. Totally dazed, he scans the room trying to piece together where the hell he is. As the memories flood back, a wave of pure panic hits him. Reality check, he actually blacked out. The last core memory, the driver finally reuniting with his fam. Fearing a trap, he instantly summons his axe through a shimmering rift. Suddenly, a voice from the shadows breaks the silence. You finally up? Startled, he spins around to find the driver's wife and daughter just chilling at the dinner table. They're eating and for a second time just freezes as they lock eyes in dead silence. Then his gaze drifts to the driver who's knocked out cold just a few feet away. The wife chimes in, explaining that he just crumpled. He fell into such a deep sleep, she didn't have the heart to wake him. Low-key embarrassed for pulling a weapon on civilians, he shoves the axe back into subspace instantly and asks how long he was out of commission. Only 3 hours, she replies before, dropping a heartfelt thank you for saving her husband and bringing their family back together. Our hero, dodging the praise like a pro, insists it was no biggie. Truth be told, the driver was the one helping him out. As they're vibing, the driver finally stirs, the wife moving fast, urges our MC to eat up, mentioning that her husband refused to touch his food until they could share a meal. He gives a faint smile and takes a seat next to his comrade. She modestly explains that she just threw together whatever scraps were left, so don't expect a 5-star meal. When it comes to the taste, he's quick to thank her, clarifying he's no stranger to roughing it and appreciates every bite. But one bite in and his world flips. The flavor is god tier. Finally, actual food after an eternity. Cooked with the real deal. The taste hits him like a truck. Suddenly he's tasting his mom's legendary kimchi, the absolute goat. Seconds later, the bowl is spotless, and he can't help but realize he hasn't savored a meal this much since his rough days in the military. Right then, the driver asks if Gangnam is the goal. Our MC nods without missing a beat. That's the next destination. Without a second thought, the man offers him a ride. Our hero's caught off guard. Wait, what do you mean? He explains he and the wife already cleared it. This is how they pay him back, for bringing them back together. But our boy just raises a hand, cutting him off calmly, and drops the truth. Gangnam is just a pit stop. His real endgame is Uijeongbu, way further out, and he's gonna need some wheels to make it. The driver nods, soaking it in, but adds, a condition he'd rather talk about outside. Cut to the yard. The man proposes they all convoy to Gangnam, in the truck together. Once they arrive, he'll head back home on his e-bike. Our MC's brow furrows instantly, pointing out that riding a bike through that hellscape is suicide. But the driver stays chill, totally unwavering, betting on his own skills to survive. Our hero just stares, trying to wrap his head around why he'd risk it all. Like this, he's already reunited with his fam, got plenty of loot, and is in a somewhat safe spot. Sure, the guy drives like a pro, but that's not enough of a reason to dive back into the fire. Bluntly, our MC asks what's really pushing him to do this. The driver doesn't blink, locking eyes, and hits him with a question of his own. Wasn't it you who saved me first? He points back to that moment, asking exactly why he chose to help a stranger then. Our boy's got no answer. The man continues explaining that without that save, his family wouldn't have survived that tunnel alive. Now, he's determined to repay the debt completely. Using his awakened skills, he notes they're both trapped. They've finally stepped into this new world. Powers are great, but the path ahead is brutal. The world is literally falling to pieces. Yet their reason for fighting remains family. He risked everything back in that dark tunnel. Now it's the hero's turn. He makes it clear, though, no reckless moves. He'll help where possible. But if things get suicidal, he's out. He won't gamble with his life or his family's safety. Senseless risks are a hard no. Hearing this, the hero smirks. The driver admits his only wish is to be the best support possible. That's when our guy reveals his broken subspace ability. It's a private zone where he holds absolute control. While active, he can store anything inside. He can even duplicate items. The driver is stunned by the intel, but Pablo keeps going. He sets his conditions clearly. Gangnam isn't the end. They're hitting Oljiro and Dobonggu next. The final stop is Uijeongbu to find his family. He can't solo this, but once he upgrades, his subspace will carry people. That means the driver, wife, and daughter are coming along. After shredding those mutant dogs, he's got enough mana stones for a massive skill evolution. If the driver stays loyal, he'll personally protect the family. The man doesn't hesitate for a second. He suits up in his veteran gear, looking sharp. Simultaneously, Pablo triggers the system interface. He burns mana stones to expand his storage capacity. With the upgrade locked in, the facility can now hold 20 people at once. Plus, he gains a skill to instantly snatch objects. Anything in his line of sight is his. However, the upkeep cost just took a hit. It jumped to 6 mana stones. Our main character decides to worry about the bill later. He wastes no time ushering the family underground. The three of them cross the threshold. They finally see something besides the global carnage. Then he introduces them to the robot Pax. He explains Pax handles all their needs. The wife hesitates because everything looks incredibly expensive, but he promises the facility has infinite resources. They can use whatever they want, worry-free. With that settled, he tells the driver they move in 30 minutes. Then he starts testing. He pushes his new limits. His core power now lets him vacuum anything into his subspace. Whatever is in front of him is fair game. Back when his power first woke up, he accidentally sucked the whole facility into his void. That's how Pax and the system merged. They fused into a singular god-tier entity from that moment on. A total game changer. The bunker stopped being just a room and started evolving insane new features. His skills were already cracked, so he didn't expect much from a level up. But now, the system screen shows every extra level lets him store one more massive object. Chills. Literally run down his spine. Also for 50 mana stones, he can build a whole laboratory. Inside, he can craft and evolve his stored loot. For the moment, he's low on stones. He can't test the lab yet, so he focuses on experimenting with the subspace itself. He starts wondering about its true limits. Then he gets a totally insane, intrusive thought. He tries to store something impossible, the entire Earth. Surprisingly, the system asks for target confirmation. He hits accept without thinking, knowing it's totally wild. Fortunately, the system rejects the command. Earth, out of range, it says. Disaster avoided. He sighs in relief, feeling like a total idiot. He low-key expected that fail. Before he can overthink, the driver brings him back to reality. He maps out the fastest routes to Gangnam. Pablo reminds him that he should be relaxing. He was supposed to be playing with his daughter, but the driver points toward the back. The little girl is already fast asleep. The man gets sentimental, expressing his deep gratitude. The hero says it's just a mutual deal. Regardless, the guy vows to give his all. He's fully committed to the cause. Soon, they're back at the truck driver, dressed and ready. His driving style is flawless. Pablito, feeling uneasy, begs him to take it easy this time. Predictably, the driver floors it, claiming it's finally time to pay back the favor. Tears roll down Pablo's cheeks as he accepts his doom while they cruise through the ghost town. The dude won't stop yapping. Meanwhile, our exhausted MC is just praying for the ride to end. Suddenly, the vibe shifts. The driver spots something ahead that makes his blood run cold. Massive military barricades block the path with tire-shredding spikes ready to tear through their rubber. Armed sprinklers sit on standby. Rumor has it a secret military base used to be right here. He wonders if soldiers remain, but our hero spots something in the mirror and shakes his head. The gear is military, but the guys using it definitely aren't. Suddenly, a tactical jeep pulls up. Our MC knew he was being tailed. Since escape is impossible, he decides to rip open a portal. He tells the driver to hide in subspace. The man hesitates, doubting if the MC can handle this. Our hero guarantees safety as a squad of armed thugs hops out of their vehicles. One bandit grumbles, annoyed that the driver ruined their trap by stopping way too early. They stopped just short of the spikes. Our protagonist tries to ask what's going on here. The man sneers, ordering him out and demanding to see the cargo with a dangerous, aggressive tone. Pablo complies without a fight. The moment the supplies are exposed, the thugs absolutely lose it with joy. Thinking they hit the jackpot, one guy asks mockingly if he's some kind of delivery boy. He asks if the loot is his. Pablo calmly says, yes, but the man just laughs cruelly. He claims everything now belongs to them. Our MC immediately realizes exactly who he's dealing with. The leader demands to know where the stash came from. Our hero admits it's from a logistics hub. He adds that, even with the location, they'd never reach it because the roads are totally blocked. He only made it after a massive detour, but he offers to guide them there personally. The man squints, asking about the remaining food. The boy says, this is just a fraction. There's way more at the center. The suspicious leader presses for the truth, and our hero confirms. Suddenly, another soldier calls for a retreat. The leader instantly orders his squad to bag the kid. They beat him down and hood him. When he finally wakes up later in the story, he's bound to a chair like a common prisoner. The thugs report the capture to their commander. One look around tells our MC that this place is bad news. The hulking commander demands the food's source. He reveals it's from the Gumpo logistics hub. The commander praises his wit before revealing they are in a high-level military communications center. Suddenly, massive, monstrous birds are seen circling the sky right outside the window. The commander claims he's powerful, yet admits one of those beasts nearly ended him. He explains how the military's standard weapons were useless against these monsters from the start. They recruited awakeners like him, but he soon realized how pathetic humans really were. Humans were no match for the monsters, so he decided to seize power for himself. The only reason our MC is breathing is his ability to lead them to the food stash. He offers our hero protection and a spot in his gang in exchange for the resources. As the commander finishes his pitch, Pablo whispers something chilling to himself. He was looking for something worthy of his subspace. Wasting no time, he commands Pax to act. Store the entire communications headquarters. In an instant, the massive building simply vanishes into thin air. Everyone is left sitting in the dirt, completely exposed. Talk about an absolute power move. The soldiers and thugs stare blankly at the empty space where their base used to be. Silence hangs heavy as the commander paces back and forth, his mind completely blown. Utterly baffled, he mutters, unable to fathom how a whole building just blinked out of existence. Meanwhile, our hero experiences a strange reaction. Out of nowhere, he doubles over and hacks up blood. Stashing massive objects is seriously backfiring. That pocket dimension is glitching his body hard. Outside, pure, unadulterated chaos as panic spreads like wildfire. Soldiers are literally shaking while a swarm of monstrous birds descends. Leading the pack is one absolute unit. It's massive and terrifying. The gang boss tries to rally his thugs, screaming to take out the small fry first, but his crew folds under the pressure. The formation shatters as they bail, leaving their leader fuming in rage. He howls traitors just as the alpha bird locks on and goes into a lethal nosedive. For a split second, it zeroes in on one target, our boy. Right at that very moment, a system alert pings. It's a request to admit a wounded soldier into the sublevel. He hits accept instantly. It's the guy he saved earlier. He's looking rough, pale, dizzy, and clearly suffering from those nasty power side effects. Note to self, be more careful with the toll this power takes. Meanwhile, outside that gang leader, he goes for one last Hail Mary flex, but the monster ends his whole career with a single blow. Ignoring the carnage, our guy focuses on what matters. He hauls the injured soldier inside, straight to a bed in the subspace. He and Joyner check him over, but neither of them are doctors. They do the basics and hope for the best. But honestly, the signs are looking pretty grim. These aren't just battle wounds. This looks like long-term torture and starvation. Then the talk shifts to the massive new addition in the subspace, the communication headquarters. The driver confirms his hunch. The logistics zone has leveled up, and this new structure is a behemoth. It feels more like a full-on military fortress than just a building. Pablo, who entered blindfolded before, never realized just how big this place was. Now it's mind-blowing. He leaves the soldier behind, to Joyner's care, and heads out to scout. It's way too big for a walk, so he grabs a bike. As he cruises, it hits him. This place is packed with guns, ammo, explosives, and heavy-duty gear. Gas masks, survival kits, it's a prepper's dream. But there's one major catch. Unlike the logistics hub where Pax handled everything automatically, this base is split into raw departments. Guns here, mags there, explosives way over there. No autopilot here. He'll have to manually scavenge and assemble every single piece of gear himself. That extra work is sketchy. Plus, he suspects these resources are finite, unlike the main warehouse. Suddenly, an AI drone drifts over. Its calm voice explains that the underground program is still tethered to the logistics center, and Pax is still running the show. Integration is currently loading. Soon, it'll be fully part of the warehouse. Our hero cuts to the chase and asks, "Can we duplicate the rifles and ammo like in Sector 1? The drone confirms that's the plan. But there's a snag. Classification is only at 0.81% if he needs gear now. The drone can prioritize specific loot. He doesn't hesitate: rifles, grenades, rides, and fuel. Boom. Priority coding is live. In 10 minutes, he'll be fully loaded and ready to roll. Safety first. He sets a hard restriction on the access codes. Only he can touch these resources. The drone locks it down. He trusts the driver's family, sure. But with a random soldier in his subspace, he can't afford to be sloppy. No trust yet. Before heading out, he glances through the portal. The world outside looks like a literal graveyard. Bodies are everywhere. Pablo mutters that this nightmare is far from over. Too many birds left, and he's not letting that giant alpha fly away this time. Cue the war prep. Joyner gears up, flashing back to his glory days in the military. He was a stone-cold marksman. He wonders if he's still got that aimbot skill. Meanwhile, our boy hauls out crates of ammo. Each one has at least 10 to 1,000 rounds. If a gun jams, just dump it and grab a fresh one. There's a tiny problem though. The system filed the mags and the guns in different spots, which makes things tricky. He asks the driver if he actually knows how to shoot. No reply. The man just snatches a rifle, gives him a look, and lets the lead fly. A relentless hail of lead shreds the winged freaks, dropping them one by one. Silence falls as the dust settles, and not a single monster remains standing. But the MC is locked in. Something feels off while scanning the carnage. The Alpha's carcass is missing. He points out the empty space to Joyner. Outside, the Titan lurks in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to kill. It tests the barrier, but the portal holds firm. No entry without permission. The driver cautiously probes the heaps of feathers, finding zero trace of the boss. Pablo takes charge, suggesting a tactical play. They need a decoy to bait it. A remote-controlled puppet will be the bait. If it strikes, they unload everything. They rig a dummy onto an RC car and send it into the zone. The moment it crosses, the massive predator lunges, revealing its deadly position. The driver levels his weapon, but sheer terror paralyzes him mid-action. Locked in a death stare, the beast slams the barrier with primal fury. Our hero screams at him to fire, but Joyner is shaking like a leaf. Finally, they both open up, drowning the monster in a frantic storm of bullets. The beast is unscathed. Suddenly, the fake commander's warning flashes through his mind. Their shots are bouncing off an invisible wall. The realization hits like a truck. It's not armor. It's something supernatural. The avian nightmare screeches in pure rage. A grenade rolls toward its talons. The MC decides on a different approach. Maybe raw explosive power can shatter its guard. He spams grenades like a madman. His partner backs him up, and for several heart-pounding seconds, the earth trembles. They stop gasping for air, praying the smoke reveals a dead god. But as the haze clears, the Titan stands tall, with only a tiny scratch. It flexes mockingly, and Joyner's jaw hits the floor. It completely brushed off the damage. Then, without a single warning, the Titan spins around and retreats. The driver is totally baffled, wondering if it's actually over, but our protagonist stays on high alert. He's certain it didn't flee because of them, but for some ominous reason. Regardless, they decide to push forward. As the military jeep rolls on, the driver admits he's never seen such a colossal beast. Pablo simply nods, visibly rattled. He can't stop thinking about how those grenades barely left a dent. Those weapons are literally designed for instant kills. But against that monster, they were just tiny scratches. His mind immediately starts racing toward way more devastating explosives. He considers weapons that could level entire cities, but using them would mean sacrificing countless innocent lives. Plus, victory wouldn't even be a guarantee. Worse yet, if he went that far, he might become something even more monstrous than the beasts. He realizes he needs a perfect weapon, something with the raw power of a nuke. But it must be precise, fast, and targeted to avoid collateral damage. For now, grenades are his only play. But he knows he has to keep evolving. Checking his system, he finds a shocker he's sitting on 314. Mana stones from those endless waves. The number is insane, way higher than expected. Without wasting a single second, he starts dumping points. He cranks his launch velocity from 100 up to 150 kilometers per hour. Cooldown drops from 5 seconds to just 1. He doubles his slots to 4 and massively extends his reach. Even after that massive flex, he's still got 189 stones left. Then something else catches his eye. He drops 50 stones to unlock the Parallel Dimension Lab, eager to test out this brand new ability. He tells his partner to pull over so he can experiment. The driver notes that Gangnam is actually right around the corner. With no monsters in sight, he suggests a wild idea. Pablo enters the portal while he keeps driving. Our MC is hesitant, it sounds sketchy. But the man insists he can handle the wheel and keep the portal open, right inside the vehicle. This way, the portal travels with them, offering an instant escape if things get south. After a beat, the kid agrees. He dives into the portal and starts exploring. A high-tech UI pops up with options. First up, Combine. It lets him fuse any 2 items regardless of their state. Second, Separate. It splits objects without damaging them. A third option is still locked, but his gears are already turning. He could fuse a gun with its mag or even pull a grenade's pin without triggering the explosion. In this dimension, everything bends to his absolute will. To test it, he registers a live grenade, with the pin pulled costing 15 mana stones. It's not a horde killer yet, but it's a start. Then a brainstorm hits. He could fuse magazines for infinite ammo, or mix random gear to craft totally broken new weapons. Something deadlier than a bomb, but totally under his thumb. Meanwhile, back in the real world, the driver slams the brakes. A massive wall of stacked cars completely blocks their path. He stares in disbelief, unable to fathom how anyone built such a fortress. Just then, our MC steps out of the portal and sees the mess. The driver suggests a U-turn, but the MC just gives a calm no. This isn't a problem anymore. Suddenly, a massive projectile blasts out from the portal, slamming into the barricade with a violent, deafening explosion. Cars are tossed aside like cheap toys. In seconds, the road is wide open and the path is cleared. The driver is just standing there, jaw dropped. It looked like pure magic, but the logic was actually quite simple. The weapon was just iron rings launched at 150 kilometers per hour. Yet the kinetic force turned them into absolute destruction. The blast sends the guards inside the nearby building into a total panic. They can't believe the wall actually fell, but as they peek out, they see a military ride rolling up. The jeep screeches to a halt right in front of them. Sliding the window down, the kid asks with zero chill if a nurse named Luna is stationed there. The scene then shifts to a bittersweet childhood memory. His sister Sol comes charging at him with her usual drama, throwing a flying kick his way. Meanwhile, their big sister is nearby, buried in her books. Annoyed by the chaos, she snaps at them to focus. Her sudden, serious vibe catches them off guard. She was never really the type to care about studying. When their mom asks what's up, she just smiles and says everything is fine. She's finally found her dream. Holding a novel called The Story of the Apple Tree, she declares she wants to be a nurse and save lives, even if the world ends tomorrow. Her family is skeptical at first, but her burning resolve proves she's dead serious. Months of grinding paid off as her grades skyrocketed, finally landing her a spot in nursing school. Back in the present, she finally reunites with her brother, her eyes instantly welling with tears. As she frantically checks him for wounds, Pablo breaks down, sobbing with pure relief that she survived. After years apart, the siblings share a crushing hug. Once they settle, he introduces the helpful driver. Suddenly, remembering the chocolate bar she's been saving, she offers it, but he just chuckles and waves it off. He flexes his subspace, claiming he has a lifetime supply. Then leaning in, he drops a whisper. He has a patient. Her nurse instincts kick in instantly, demanding to know where, but they aren't physically there. They're tucked inside his subspace. Shock hits her. Her brother is actually an awakened too. He needs a low-key spot to open the portal away from prying eyes. After a quick scan, she suggests slipping into the hospital, betting they'll find a deserted room to pull this off safely. He follows her inside where the hospital is still swarming with patients, just like before the apocalypse. They duck into a lounge and lock the door. Then he rips open a portal and pulls her in. Like anyone stepping in for the first time, the sight of the massive towers inside blows her mind. "What is this place?" she gasps. He promises an explanation, later leading her straight to the mangled soldier. One look and she shakes her head. He's a goner. Her grim diagnosis leaves both men absolutely stunned. But she pivots. Things are different because she's an awakened, too gifted with the power of healing. She's still low level, so a full recovery is impossible, but she can stabilize him and cheat death. First aid is done. Now he just needs food to recover his strength. With a knowing smirk, he brings up the time she vowed to keep healing even if the world ended tomorrow. She snaps at him for that cringy memory, joking she should have disciplined him harder as a kid, just like their other sister did. Once the patient is patched up, she demands the full story. He dives into everything: the system's arrival, his awakening, the allies he met, and the brutal battles. He explains his journey while she happily chows down, but he notices she seems way more focused on the food than his tale. He calls her out, and despite her claims, his pop quiz proves she barely caught half of it. Soon she meets the driver's wife, who greets her warmly. She hypes up the woman's cooking, earning a proud grin. The wife then mentions that she's already prepped a cozy bed upstairs. Pablo tries to say it wasn't necessary, but the wife insists it was her pleasure. Once she leaves, his sister asks a serious question. "How did you find this family?" Pablo sighs, giving her the quick summary of the situation. His endgame is moving the whole family into his subspace. He's got her now. Next is their sister. That means trekking to Olgio, but suddenly his sister drops a bombshell. She can't go. Stunned, he demands to know why. She explains she has to stay since the hospital holds 300 patients in desperate need of care. Other nurses help, but there's a bigger problem. Upstairs, the plot thickens. Two shadowy figures are currently debating the arrival of this new hero. One confirms that after the explosion, a military truck rolled in, asking specifically for Nurse Luna. The man in charge is Manuel Alberto, head of internal medicine. After hearing the report, he figures they aren't threats. He'll offer them food while keeping an iron grip on supplies. He plans to use the sister, then asks a massive brute if these newcomers are stronger than him. The bored brute grunts that it's highly unlikely. They also bring up the perimeter barricade. The giant boasts that he's already reinforced it, stacking vehicles even higher than before, proving his monstrous strength once again. Downstairs, the sister finally whispers her true fears. She suspects the boss is drugging everyone. His ability is poison-based, and it's lethal. It's strong enough to turn people into mindless slaves, sparing only her and some nurses. Most awakened have already succumbed, forced to serve him by prepping food or managing resources, including the precious monostones. After a tense swallow, she drops another bombshell. Ella's gut says nurses are being toxically sabotaged, so she's snatching monostones on the low to buff her stats. But her level is still trash, not enough to heal a soul or stage a breakout, so she's staying put. She begs him to ghost find their parents and other sister and hide out in the underground. Once she's immune to the poison, they'll link up later, but our boy shuts that down instantly, driving her crazy. He explains that if the food is rigged, the fix is easy. He's got this under control, no sweat. She's floored by his sudden confidence, even whispering that he's totally lost his mind again. It's high school all over again, but her doubt turns into straight-up shock when he drops a massive food flex. The haul is legendary, far beyond her wildest dreams. Word of the stash quickly reaches the big boss, Manuel Alberto. He brushes it off his cap, thinking it's trivial, but the second a lackey spills the tea about the insane mountain of supplies the newbies brought, a greedy smirk spreads across his face. He figures it can't be much, after all, they only rolled up in a single military whip. He's sure someone will jack their loot and they'll eventually come crawling to him for scraps. His ego takes a hit when the subordinate insists these two have more food than the entire hospital. Alberto recalls their own stockpile took a full truck, yet these randoms are carrying even more. He's intrigued and hits a realization they must have some kind of cracked special ability. Maybe a shrink ray skill or restoration. Whatever the cheat code is, he decides he needs those two. No time to waste. He hands a mystery drug to his lackey and sends his heavy hitter to dose our boy. If the kid fights back or resists the addiction, the tank has the green light. He can kill him on sight. Oh, and the sidekick. Don't let them slide either. Meanwhile, the focus shifts back to Pablo, inside the hospital, playing hero and handing out rations to patients. He's low-key scanning every face in the crowd, hunting for one specific target. He'd already grilled his sister about the power levels of Alberto's elite squad. She warned him most were fodder, except for one beast, a massive tank named Lautaro. This guy is so cracked he solo traveled through the apocalypse all the way from Algero. He only came for his mom. That massive car barricade, yeah, he built that with his bare hands. Pure, raw strength. Now our MC is standing face to face with the legend himself. One look confirms it. Lautaro del Campo steps up and says, "I know we need to talk." Our protagonist smirks, firing back that he's got some unfinished business too. They head outside, where the tank lays down the law. There are only two ways this ends. Chug this medicine or catch these hands. Pablo immediately smells the trap. He was lured here to be cornered, but instead of folding, he flashes an arrogant grin. He offers option 3, a total capture. Lautaro doesn't wait and charges like a freight train. He's terrifyingly fast, but his fist hits nothing as our boy slips into his subspace. Before the man can blink, a bowling ball slams into his chest with savage, brutal force. Pablo isn't trying to catch a body, so he holds back. To drop this boss, he needs a combo. While the guy is reeling, our MC spots the opening and strikes in a flash. He summons a massive tower to seal him inside. Success. The beast is finally caged. No major injuries, mission accomplished. Back at the hospital, his sister rushes over, panicked. "Where were you?" He points outside, casually mentioning his scrap with the juggernaut. She looks out the window and freezes. Seeing him trapped, she asks how he even pulled it off. Just then, the driver stumbles in, clutching his head and groaning in total agony. Sis recognizes the symptoms instantly. It's that same toxic drug they've been trying to cure. But Pablo insists he didn't take anything. Then, Luna spots blood dripping from his finger. It was a setup, someone poisoned him. Pablo instantly pulls the guy into a safe zone. Inside his space, the pain vanishes. Pablo realizes his OP skill just totally purged the poison. Since no outside energy can penetrate that space, he brings the big guy into his subdimension to test it. Back outside, his theory is proven. The doctor's control snaps like a twig. Finally, he's free. Lautaro del Campo sprints to his sick mother, locking her in a desperate hug, terrified she'll vanish again. With tearful eyes, he begs our hero for forgiveness, deeply grateful that the protagonist's unique ability allowed him to reclaim his true self. Smoldering with rage and relief, he vows to destroy the doctor, the monster who kept them apart for so long. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to Manuel Alberto. Watching from his window, dread chills his spine as he realizes the truth: his puppets are gone. When the giant smashes into the room, Manuel begs for answers, desperately clutching at a fading hope. That his servant is still loyal, but the man's tensed muscles and unbridled fury say otherwise. Pure hatred radiates from him. Manuel knows he's cooked. In a pathetic final gamble, he starts pleading, trying to sound conciliatory. It's useless. A heartbeat later, he's crushed like a brittle walnut. Meanwhile, our main character and his sister brainstorm a way to liberate the other patients. Victims trapped in the doctor's chemical web. The medicine meant to heal them became their iron chains. Now, the real mission is severing that bond. Our hero suggests a high-stakes, risky plan. Traditional methods won't cut it, but his subdimension is a proven safe haven. After all, that was where Lautaro's symptoms vanished instantly. Stashing everyone there might be the only winning move, even if it's a massive gamble. But just as they prepare to move the unexpected strikes, the patients start recovering on their own, leaving everyone watching in total shock. The big guy returns, announcing he's already handled everything. His words and the patient's sudden recovery tell the main character everything he needs to know about the doctor's dark, gruesome end. The man offers his thanks again for himself and his mother, knowing they'd still be slaves without help. After that, as he mentions his next destination, he drops a chilling warning. Danger is closing in. On his way there, he saw a nightmare, a massive wall erupting from the earth. He couldn't even see the top, but it was easily skyscraper high. With a barrier like that, navigating the city has become a total nightmare. No normal gear could ever hope to break through. It would take insane power and time. Our hero realizes the next phase won't be a walk in the park. The monsters in this new zone are different breeds entirely. According to the big man's intel, they're mostly skeletons and undead freaks. That's a problem because these things don't stay dead. They just keep respawning. Yet despite the grim news, Pablo isn't worried about his other sister, since she's literally a monster herself. Suddenly, his sister's voice echoes from inside the subdimension. She reports that the wounded soldier they rescued has finally regained consciousness. We cut to the facility where the soldier thanks our hero for saving his life. He introduces himself formally, while the protagonist carefully assesses his physical state. When the soldier asks where they are, the subdimension answer leaves him completely baffled. See, the military base where he served should be right here, but there isn't a single building in sight. That's when the big sister steps in, dropping the cold truth about where they actually are. Learning they're near Gangnam, the soldier begs to be dropped off there. Initially, both the protagonist and the driver think the guy is just being suspicious or scared of them, but the soldier shuts that down. He trusts them, they saved him, he's just in a rush. He needs to reach the Joint Chiefs of Staff and report the disaster at the comm center. Sensing the gravity, the protagonist offers him some food and asks for the full story. The soldier hesitates for a heartbeat, but a slice of pizza changes his mind. The intel begins. One day, outsiders started invading their world. It wasn't just monsters, but weird insects too. Strange beasts and even alien trees appeared. Over time, the very earth began to warp. It was like mountains and alien landscapes were merging with reality. These creatures were pure lethality. These beasts slaughtered everything, even tearing apart their own kind. Humanity's heavy artillery, completely useless. Bullets bounced off them, forcing the government to draft awakened warriors into elite hunter squads. Victory finally seemed possible, as these specialized teams pushed back the darkness temporarily, restoring a fragile peace. Then a nightmare emerged. A single beast shattered their hope, followed by a tide of monsters immune to lead. SOS signals flooded the airwaves as the base went dark. Desperation turned to terror when command stayed silent. With no backup coming, they pooled their resources to hire mercenaries and fought their way toward headquarters. They arrived only to find a ghost town. Scrambled logs told a chilling tale of mutiny and mass evacuation. Suddenly, the world spiraled into chaos. Their own hired guns turned traitor, and the monster floodgates burst wide open. Legions of nightmares drowned the earth while the military fractured, tearing itself apart into two warring factions. Loyalists faced off against power-hungry rebels, who blocked all relief efforts using the apocalypse to fuel their coup. This soldier carries a heavy burden. Delivering these secrets to his commander is the only way to survive. Our main character gets it. He can't drop him in the heart of Gangnam, but he won't leave him hanging. I'll get you to the doorstep of command, he promises. One last ride before they part ways for good. The driver pulls out a map highlighting a high-risk route and the exact coordinates where they'll make the handoff. Catch some sleep, the main character commands. He rips open a shimmering portal, and the driver revs the engine. The soldier watches mesmerized. Were these the legends who slew the giant dragon and snatched him from death? He gets his answer instantly. On the other side of the rift, a massive ogre stands like a wall. Before he can even scream a warning, Pablo's high-caliber round pulverizes the beast into a bloody red mist. The soldier's jaw drops. He's with a god-tier player, and the boy is just getting started casually summoning gear. A massive war machine materializes from thin air. The main character looks back, treating the impossible like it is nothing. "Keep your eyes peeled," he says. "We're leaving the gate open, so you can witness the carnage firsthand." Speechless and shaking, the soldier can only watch as they plow forward, turning every monster into roadkill. From the back seat, he sits in stunned silence, witnessing a level of power he never knew existed. This isn't a fever dream, it's real. Just as he prepares to head back through the portal, disaster strikes. The road ahead vanishes. A massive bridge lies in ruins, twisted metal and concrete blocking their only path. "Sorry, this might take a minute," the main character shrugs. But the seater isn't worried, he trusts them completely. They're making record time mostly because Joyner drives like a maniac possessed by a professional stunt driver's soul. He executes an insane two-wheel drift weaving through debris. Not even a collapsed bridge can slow this lunatic down. But a new problem looms. A colossal wall towers over the horizon, cutting off their route entirely. For now, they pedal to the metal, deciding to drop the soldier off as close to the target as possible. They reach the command zone. The soldier begs them to enlist promising cutting-edge tech and raw mana stones. "The government will make you gods," he pleads. But the main character's expression doesn't flicker. He's not for sale. "Family comes first," he declares. He and Joyner don't need handouts, they hunt their own resources in the wild. But the main character has a different play. "Does your chief of staff have a helicopter?" he asks. The soldier nods. "It's possible. The plan: stop crawling through the dirt and take to the skies." Inside the command bunker, the chief of staff stares at a screen of red. His divisions are vanishing. Suddenly, an aide bursts in. A lone survivor from the DCC's Signal Battalion is demanding an urgent audience. He's the last man standing from his unit carrying secrets that could change the tide of this war. "Bring him in," the chief roars. The soldier slams the treason files down, exposing the rebellion's dark heart. He recounts his narrow escape, praising the mysterious duo who saved him. The chief listens completely intrigued. Send them up, the chief commands. Standing before the legends, he bows his head in genuine gratitude. They saved the nation. The main character cuts to the chase. I want the chopper. I'll pay in food. The chief considers it. But a military helicopter is vital. Nothing is free in this hellscape, he counters. Join us as an awakened operative, the chief proposes. The world is burning, and we need your strength. The government is a sinking ship. With the main character's godlike power, they might actually stand a chance. But our protagonist shuts him down again. His family's safety is the only thing that matters. No deal means no favors, so the boss denies his request. But as he turns to walk away with ice-cold composure, zero hesitation, zero regret, the entire vibe in the room shifts. Panic sets in for the boss. He can't let a powerhouse like this just walk out, so he pivots with a desperate new offer. He reveals that a squad of elite awakened soldiers is currently pinned down at Seoul Station, swarmed by an endless sea of skeletons. They're still alive and signaling, but they're completely boxed in. Save them and the chopper is his. Plus, he drops a pro tip. These skeletons keep respawning unless you shatter their core. If that's gone, they stay down for good. To our guy, this sounds like a walk in the park. Wasting no time, he rolls into enemy territory with a military convoy. They charge straight into the madness, pulverizing boneheads left and right until they reach the survivors. The extraction is a total success. On the way back, he remembers the boss's grim warning. His skills work on the cannon fodder. But there's a wild card, the Skeleton Knight, a rare high-tier threat he was told to run from at all costs. Yeah, like he listens. The moment it spawns, he launches a 200-kilo projectile, but things go sideways fast. The Skeleton Knight draws its blade and slices that massive bullet clean in half. The soldiers are absolutely losing it. Then the unthinkable happens. The monster actually tries to speak. After some distorted static, it uses a magic artifact to bridge the gap. Suddenly, its voice is crystal clear. The boss monster introduces himself as Wayne, one of the 12 elite knights serving the Skeleton King. Immediately, our MC notices a detail. The knight crushed magic stones just to cast a translation spell. Without hesitation, the skeleton grills him. He wants to know if this mage is actually brave enough to face him, or why humans keep trespassing. He even mocks his impatience, calling this whole mess just phase 1 of the establishment project. But the talk is cut short. Before the skeleton can finish, our MC strikes without a single word. The knight parries with ease, but that doesn't stop the onslaught. The MC keeps spamming attacks one after another. Nothing lands a clean hit, but he's just downloading the enemy's moveset and combat style. Ready to level up the fight, he burns 50 stones to evolve his skill. Tracking delivery is unlocked. Now, he can rain down objects with pinpoint precision. The pressure becomes suffocating, until the monster finally snaps in rage, a sign he's actually feeling the heat. Then remembering the intel from the boss, he commands his packages to target the monster's magic core directly. He manipulates the trajectories, relentlessly shredding the knight from every angle. Seeing the damage, the driver thinks they've got it in the bag. But our MC isn't relaxing for a second. He admits this: Skeleton Knight is even deadlier than that giant bird from before. The battle peaks. As the constant bombardment finally pays off, those steel-hard bones are starting to splinter. Seizing the moment, he orders the AI to launch a massive plate barrage from all sides. The final strike connects, and the knight's core is obliterated. Before fading into dust, Wayne leaves a chilling warning: the war isn't over, and his loyalty to the Skeleton King is eternal. As the dust settles, a heavy silence hangs in the air. The MC loots the drops, 2 massive monostones, and an enchantment stone. The soldiers are speechless. He just soloed a boss that the chief of staff warned him to avoid. Even the boss is reeling in shock and pure admiration. He practically begs the MC and the driver to enlist, officially calling them brothers in arms. But our guy sticks to his guns and says no. Family comes first, period. The boss respects it, but drops a hint that the country needs a legend like him for what's coming. Our MC doesn't share that hype though. He feels the pressure mounting. That fight was way harder than he expected. If another one shows up right now, he knows he's cooked. But what's really haunting him is Wayne's reveal. If that knight was only one of 12, then there are 11 more monsters out there with that same terrifying power. The real nightmare has only just begun. High-caliber rounds proved useless against the skeletal horde, while completely absurd methods, like hurling bowling balls, worked way better. Even he can't explain why it defies all logic and physics. Later, the chief of staff drops some seriously disturbing intel. A recon team was sent in earlier, but the rising wall completely cut them off from the world. 0 survivors have returned since. Yet occasional aerial sweeps confirm that communications remain active, which means those trapped inside are still breathing. If his family is there, they might be safe. Our hero instantly realizes who could be trapped behind those walls. His second older sister, a woman so fierce she practically counts as a monster herself. Finally, the chief adds one last detail. Inspections show the top of the wall is actually growing inward, as if it's forming a roof to seal them in. Grabbing the chopper now is vital before the gap closes. He then leads them to their prepared aircraft. Pablo spots what looks like a total junker, a battered old helicopter, but figures if it flies, it works. However, the chief points to another model, a high-tech Blackhawk in pristine condition, that he reveals will be their ride. Considering everything he has done for the nation, this is honestly the bare minimum for compensation. He accepts the gift without a second thought. He views both the chief and the driver as trusted allies, and wants them to realize their massive roles in everyone's survival. Suddenly, something unprecedented happens. For the first time ever, the driver sees a system window. It tells him he can unlock a new skill, specifically helicopter piloting in exchange for 50 monostones. His unique ability, Great Driver, now allows him to master any vehicle effortlessly. Unlike our main protagonist, he doesn't follow a leveling system. He simply registers a vehicle using manastones. After that, he can pilot it whenever he wants without any delay. The chief then hands over a briefcase, overflowing with stones. He admits he planned to gift it during boarding, but this moment feels far more appropriate. 200 mana stones are inside. The driver only grabs 50, exactly what he needs for the pilot skill, and hands the remainder to our lead guy. Pure excitement radiates from his face. He is dying to test this new power. Soon, they both board the bird and start takeoff prep. Joyner wears a terrifying grin, claiming he already knows how to fly this thing. A desperate Pablo begs him to take it easy this time, but of course he refuses. That sends him into a sobbing mess, knowing how brutal this flight will be. While Joyner handles the controls, he focuses on his subspace notifications. He still has 2 large mana stones and 1 upgrade stone. Since each large stone equals 100 normals, his total has hit 1,393. It's way more than he expected. He instantly drops 1,000 stones to upgrade his sub-basement. While it's still unclear how to use the enchantment stone from the Skeleton Knight, the system quickly provides an explanation. This stone carries the fire attribute. Its level isn't insane, but it still grants 2 special effects: penetration and ignition. The description also breaks down a key detail: the massive difference between common stones and enchantment stones. They share an origin, but the latter possess unique traits. Fusing them with a weapon creates a magical artifact. The final result depends on both the attribute and the stone's level. For instance, on an automatic rifle, the bullets would transform into flaming projectiles. Despite the buff, he hesitates. He only has 1 stone, and wasting it would be a massive mistake. After weighing his options, he decides against guns or grenade launchers. Instead, he chooses to buff the only item that actually worked: his bowling balls. At his request, the system registers them as a unique item. His logic is simple: guns and explosives failed against that Skeleton Knight, but that bowling ball smashed him and 11 other knights easily. Since they are still out there buffing what works is the smartest play. Turning it into a literal fireball feels like a total pro gamer move right now. While he stays locked into the system interface, his buddy calls out that they're ready for liftoff. Right then, a new notification pings the sub-basement upgrade. The system update wraps up, unveiling a haul of fresh features. Our lead's eyes go wide as he scans the interface. But this isn't hype, it's pure dread. Down on the tarmac, the chief of staff watches them ascend, and can't help but wonder what triggered that look. Well, the answer hits like a freight train. A lineup of broken skills is ready for the taking, but the final one is a total curveball. This insane ability lets his subdimension claim outside objects as his own personal assets, as long as they fit categories like rations, dairy, or military gear. But it's definitely not a freebie. Every registration burns through stones, with the cost scaling by the object's size, weight, and rarity. Dropping 250 stones just to unlock this was a flex, but he knows the payoff is massive. Before, he was stuck with whatever the logistics center provided, but those chains are officially broken. Now he can loot, stash, and deploy literally anything he stumbles across in this wasteland. Talk about a literal game changer. For now, his subspace only has 2 tabs: logistics and military. That limits his options for now, but then he pulls a move that nobody saw coming. After a quick system check, he straight up registers their active Blackhawk helicopter into the military slot. The transformation is instant. The bird is now a permanent asset integrated into his base. As the chief stands there in total shock, our hero spawns multiple Blackhawks out of thin air and guns the engines. Meanwhile, the story shifts back to the Skeleton King, perched on his throne inside a hidden fortress deep within the Great Wall. He's vibing, but nothing makes sense. Gaining entry here requires level 8 clearance, meaning even high-tier mages have to nerf their own power to cross. He had to do it himself, so he's puzzled. Why would a beast like that nerf his stats just to farm his mobs? To him, our protagonist is a terrifying high-level sorcerer who just deleted one of his top lieutenants. He's convinced a monster-tier wizard has arrived ahead of schedule to hijack the world before the grand opening. That makes him a major threat, though the crowned skeleton isn't about to crash out just yet. He mourns Wayne for a second, but whatever. They can farm infinite magic and upgrade stones anyway. Once the harvest is locked in, they'll dump the trash and focus solely on erasing that supposed wizard. Suddenly, a lackey cuts in. Something has breached their borders, but he can't get a clear read on it. The Skeleton King just scoffs, telling his subordinate to touch grass and keep it chill. It's probably just more weakling, humans like before, and besides, the ceiling is about to lock down. It's not worth the headspace. We cut back to Pablito and Joyner, as they finally breach the massive wall and enter the inner zone. But the pilot is starting to sweat bullets. There's zero room to touch down safely because a skeleton knight is throwing hands with another creature right below them. Landing now would be suicide. Our hero peers over the edge, and what he sees completely stops his heart. That's not a monster squaring up with the knight. It's his big sister Soul. She lands a monstrous haymaker that sends it flying, but the undead tank doesn't even flinch. Our protagonist takes over the narration to drop the lore on this absolute beast of a woman. Ever since she was a kid, Soul was hooked on MMA after seeing it once on the big screen. Luckily, she had a little brother to fuel her obsession, or rather a human punching bag to train on. Every pro fight she watched became a new blueprint for her to test out her moves on him, but ragdolling her brother and weaklings got boring fast. She needed a real high to push her limits, so she started hunting for smoke on the playground, challenging literally anyone with a pulse. Boys, girls, Therians, or even older kids, it didn't matter. No one could stop her warpath. Seeing her raw talent, her dad finally enrolled her in a legit martial arts academy. That's where she finally tasted defeat. Another fighter absolutely humbled her with ease, but instead of folding, she leveled up. She finally found the thrill of a real challenge. From that point on, her growth was a cheat code, stacking up trophies in every jiu-jitsu tournament. By 7th grade, she'd already cleared the junior division, and her hunger was only getting scarier. Things take a darker turn as a relentless obsession for perfection demands a high price, and that debt is collected soon. Saul suffers devastating injuries, tearing ligaments in both her legs. Yet her burning impatience forces a premature comeback only to trigger another collapse. A vicious cycle of injury and relapse begins. She finally goes pro at 24, a debut delayed for years by her own sheer stubbornness. As the driver listens to her tragic history, he sits there completely speechless. Pablo keeps his cool, ordering the man to focus and bring the helicopter down safely. But the pilot can't stop whispering, convinced she's more of a monster than a human being. Back on the ground, the skeleton knight levels his blade, demanding to know the truth. Why can't he land a single hit? She just scoffs, mocking his sluggish and predictable movements. Refusing to believe it, the knight claims he's just as fast and accuses her of using a hidden skill. She shrugs it off. There's no trick. She simply reads his posture and predicts every limb's trajectory. The revelation hits him hard, forcing the undead warrior to pause and reflect for a moment. He actually praises her, admitting fighters of her caliber are rare gems in this world. He claims she could be the ultimate knight if she ranked up, but she just looks at him in total confusion. Despite her bewilderment, he promises to beg the Skeleton King for mercy once the city falls. But his speech is cut short. A massive, roaring fireball suddenly obliterates him into bone dust. The flaming sphere rolls casually to a stop at the girl's feet. She stands there stunned, unable to process how this orb did what her own skills couldn't. From the wreckage, 2 massive monastones and an upgrade stone drop. But before she can even blink, a glowing portal snatches the loot right from under her. A helicopter hovers above, and our main guy leans out with a signature playful smirk. He wastes no time trolling her, joking that she's still the same terrifying beast as always. Saul freezes, staring up in total disbelief at her little brother. None of this makes any sense to her. Cut to a feast. Pablo and Luna watch in awe as she inhales food like a starving predator. Finally, her sister, who happens to be a nurse, can't stay silent anymore. She asks if this insane strength comes from some kind of hidden power-up skill. Soul just keeps chewing, telling her the answer is only half right. Her power is raw and natural, having nothing to do with the barrier system. She keeps devouring everything until her sister snaps, yelling at her to slow down before she chokes. Pablo just chuckles, remembering how he felt exactly the same when he first arrived. His tone shifts to relief, grateful that all 3 of them awakened and survived this hell. But there's one more piece of the puzzle: finding their older brother. The second sister pauses, eyeing him with deep suspicion and doubt. She calls his abilities a broken cheat code, demanding to know how he's doing all this. He laughs it off with a promise to explain, later telling her to focus on resting. He shows her the command codes for supplies, and mentions checking on Joyner's family. She nods, but then drops a heavy question. Are they really ditching the city right now? His face turns grim as he confirms the plan. The ceiling is closing at a terrifying speed. He doubts the fortress can hold everyone and needs to hoard monastones before the lockdown. But as he looks up, cold dread sinks in. The ceiling is already sealed shut. Total darkness swallows the city. Instantly, he boards the Black Hawk and launches 5 fireballs. They strike the fortress walls and do 0 damage. The ceiling isn't budging anytime soon. He briefly weighs a crazy gamble storing the entire city in his subdimension, but it's too risky. Moving something that massive could trigger a total catastrophe for everyone involved. To make matters worse, his mana stone stash is bone dry. Then his sister whispers from behind. He replayed the Skeleton Knight's final moments, wondering if those dying words were actually a cold, hard truth. The warning was, "Grim, stay and die." He'd offered salvation, and now Pablo needed every single detail of that deal. She just shrugged. It was over in a flash. No time for talk before he pulverized the knight into dust. But then, the brutal reality finally clicked for our MC. If they wanted to breathe again, the Skeleton King had to fall. The problem was the scale. Finding one boss in this massive concrete maze was impossible. But before a plan formed, Joiner's inner demon surged forth with a twisted grin, bragging he only needed 5 minutes to pinpoint the royal castle. Our hero sensed pure chaos approaching and tried to pull the plug, but the demonic fuse was already lit. He morphed into a total nightmare, cackling like a lunatic, before pulling the most high-stakes, reckless stunt of the day. He whipped the chopper into a violent 360-degree spin, zigzagging through the clouds like a flying madman. He was bent on scouring every inch of the city. Meanwhile, deep within the Skeleton King's dark, hollow fortress, Lancelot delivered the grim news. Sir Lionel had been absolutely erased by a single devastating fireball from the mage. The Skeleton King's roar shook the foundation. The harvest was nearly complete, yet this pest dared to interfere again. His fury hit a boiling point. He swore to end the intruder personally, demanding his exact coordinates right now. The skull-faced subordinate played it cool chillingly, noting that the target was already delivering himself to their doorstep. From his high perch, the king spotted the chopper. At first, he pegged the pilot as just another mere mage, but after a second glance, he realized this creature looked way more like a restless corpse than a living human. It didn't matter, though. His only directive was total annihilation. No matter who it was, no one was leaving alive. A massive iron gate groaned open, revealing walls crawling with bat-like monstrosities just waiting for the signal to strike. Pablo stumbled into the chamber looking like a ghost, pale, trembling, and completely drained of his usual strength. Still reeling from that wild ride, he cursed helicopters forever. But the battlefield didn't care about his motion sickness. His sister caught a shadow moving behind them. A massive winged nightmare lunged straight for his jugular, with razor-sharp fangs. She moved like lightning. One heavy-handed strike was all it took to turn that monster into a memory. The impact was so violent it actually knocked the daze right out of Pablo. He barely managed a quick thanks. But she just waved him off, her gaze turning into cold steel as she scanned the darkening room. Something felt off. Pablo didn't see it at first, but then it happened. From the deepest, darkest shadows, hundreds of glowing red eyes snapped open, locking onto them. His heart sank as the ambush's scale hit home. Without hesitation, he ordered the driver to retreat into the subspace. He knew this was way above their pay grade, but his sister was on that demon timing. A twisted, borderline manic grin spread across her face as the horde closed. As the sea of monsters surged forward, her eyes lit up. A single enemy was a waste of her time. An entire army, however, was perfect. Without holding back, she dove headfirst into the darkness, losing herself in the carnage. Her movements were a terrifying dance of grace and gore. She lunged, landing like a sledgehammer on a creature's skull. One beast latched onto her neck, sinking its teeth in, but she didn't flinch. She just smashed its head into dust. Blood stained the tiles as her unhinged laughter echoed through the hall, sounding more monstrous than the thing she killed. For the first time, the monsters actually hesitated. They were feeling true terror. Pablo watched, completely paralyzed by the savagery. He knew she thrived in the slaughterhouse, but he couldn't just stand there and be a spectator to the massacre. Scene shift. Deep in his subspace lab, he started assembling a high-tech piece of gear with one specific purpose. It was an electric pest zapper, custom-tuned to lure those bat bastards straight into a high-voltage lethal trap. Once activated, a powerful hum filled the air, dragging the monsters toward it like moths to a literal flame. They were fried instantly. But his sister just scowled to her. Using gadgets was the ultimate buzzkill in a fight. She didn't want tricks. She wanted blood. She screamed at him to stay out of it, but he remained ice cold. "This isn't a sport," he snapped. They needed to wipe the floor with these things and end this immediately. Elsewhere, the skeletal report reached the king. The supposed mage wasn't alone. There was a second monster on the field. This new threat was just as deadly, using bizarre tools and resources that seemed to have no end. The king was losing his patience. Dealing with one powerhouse was annoying, but two, that was a serious problem. He didn't hesitate anymore. It was time to summon his ultimate trump card, Lancelot. But even the knight sensed danger. Unleashing rank 7 power on Earth is a death wish. The Commerce Chamber will be out for blood. But the Skeleton King is cornered. Facing an equal level 8 threat, he can't risk a two-front war. Desperate, he chants an ancient spell to ignite Lancelot's true terrifying potential. 3 reinforcement stones replace his spectral skull as mana erupts in violent, suffocating waves. Meanwhile, deep in the hero's hideout, the squad is working overtime amidst a mountain of junk. It's pure mechanical chaos, exposed wires and copper coils sparking everywhere, in a desperate DIY frenzy. They coil heavy wire around an aluminum rod, forging a makeshift electric bat. This semi-rare beast is built specifically to crush those bat monsters. Sol gives it a test swing. She jokes that having this much gear feels like a cheat code, but Pablo isn't laughing. Merging items drains their raw stats. Will this junk heap weapon actually hold up in a real fight? Something feels off. Pablo catches his sister obsessively, scratching her neck, and demands to know why. She shrugs it off, mentioning a monster bite from earlier that started itching like crazy again. Alarm bells scream in Pablo's head. Panic sets in. What if the infection is taking hold? He nervously asks if she's suddenly craving human flesh, specifically his neck. She gives him the "I'm gonna kill you" look, just as the Skeleton King's voice thunders through the air. He mocks their audacity, sentencing any arcane intruders who dare step into his realm to death. The siblings share a "we're cooked" look, completely baffled by the ancient rant. The king demands a response, but their silence only pushes his divine rage over the edge. Enough talk. He commands Lancelot to erase them from existence without a shred of mercy. The skeletal knight rises, dripping with a renewed, suffocating aura that makes Sol's eyes sparkle. Finally, a real challenge. She warns her brother to back off. This boss fight belongs to her. But Lancelot doesn't wait. He blurs forward with lethal intent, swinging a massive blade meant for execution. Sol barely reacts, blocking the overhead smash with her electrified bat as sparks fly. She feels the crushing pressure and leaps back, but the knight's follow-up snap shatters her weapon like glass. Pablo freezes in horror. A semi-rare weapon, turned into toothpicks in a single strike. His sister doesn't sugarcoat it. The bat wasn't trash. The monster in front of them is just a god. From the sidelines, the Skeleton King gloats, watching his ultimate warrior dominate the battlefield. Pablo's mind races. If even his powerhouse sister admits this guy is trouble, they're in deep. Thinking ahead, he asks if he can claim the mana stones once the dust settles. Money's tight lately, after all. Suddenly, the battle turns into a high-stakes race to the kill. He takes the lead, sniping with heavy bowling balls, but the knight's blade is a blur of steel. Lancelot slices them like paper. Sol lunges in, dancing through the knight's guard to land heavy blows. It's a pincer attack. Pablo keeps the pressure on from range while Sol wreaks havoc up close. But when the dust clears, the skeletal knight stands tall, not a single scratch on his armor. Realizing they're outmatched, Pablo yanks his sister back into the safety of the subspace basement. The king barks orders for Lancelot to hunt them down. Sol fuming, thinking her brother is stealing her loot. He shuts her down quick. This isn't about greed. It's about surviving an opponent who's clearly built different. Seeing their best hits do zero damage, she asks if this beast even has a weakness. Lancelot charges his sword, clanging uselessly against the invisible barrier. Pablo tries a counterpoke from inside. Still nothing. Meanwhile, the Skeleton King is losing his patience with these cowardly tactics. He spits on their hit-and-run strategy, labeling Pablo a bottom-tier mage, hiding in a shell. A rank 7 guardian is no joke. The king knows he'll face hell for using this power, but he had no choice. It was either unleash the beast or get erased by the mage. He gambled everything on this play, yet the results are embarrassing. As the lopsided skirmish drags on, the king starts to sweat. Bowling balls are literally piling up outside his door. Just how deep does this mage's inventory go? He's baffled why ditch powerful magic for limited tools. Meanwhile, Pablo's mind is racing, plotting a way to crush the skeleton knight. With 0 mana stones, he's gotta get creative. His current arsenal, completely useless against this beast. But before the next clash, the Skeleton King drops a bombshell. The boy isn't a mage, he's a copier. Suddenly, the king erupts in laughter, feeling a massive weight lift. He just flat out hates mages. He calls off his knight and pitches a wild deal they should become partners. Both our hero and his sister are left staring in total shock. Then the king reveals. His castle is Camelot, a legendary artifact that grinds living souls into enchantment stones. These gems grant insane buffs like summoning the legendary 12 knights, including the beast Lancelot. With the MC's duplication skill, they'd have infinite power. Production takes time, but once one stone drops, they can multiply it forever. Hearing this, Pablo actually sheds tears of joy, thanking the king for the brilliant idea. Then he instantly orders Pax to swallow the whole castle. The king can't even react. One second he's a ruler, the next he's homeless on a ruined road. Inside the subspace, the castle shrinks into its true form. Seeing his prize in the MC's hands, the king snaps, firing off a desperate spell. But Pablo, with a cold gaze, gives the final execution order. Lancelot now, his loyal pawn, must kill the king. With one silent lethal strike, Lancelot cleaves his former master in two. Talk about a pro-gamer move. The king disintegrates into dust, leaving only a glowing yellow crystal behind. The skeleton knight kneels, retrieving it with pure reverence. Right then, a system alert pops up. The king's entire domain is now Pablo's, including every single mana stone he hoarded. His eyes nearly pop out 3,086 monostones. Even his sister is left speechless by the sheer massive haul. A wave of pure hype washes over him. But then, she crosses her arms and demands half. He snaps back, that's totally unfair. He points out he risked his own stones to craft that electric bat of hers. After some bickering, he sighs and tosses her 500. Saul is definitely not impressed. She hits him with a guilt trip. Is her life really worth less than some rocks? He fires back, she's safe in his subspace, so why does she need him? She takes the 500 anyway. She pivots to Lancelot, asking what the plan is. The knight steps forward and bows to Pablito. He formally reports the king's defeat, presenting the monostone as proof of his loyalty. Scene Jump Joiner's daughter is now using the terrifying knight as her personal plaything. Pablo just watches, realizing the poor kid must have been bored to death. The knight bows politely, stating that serving the hero's allies is his greatest honor. The little girl giggles, tapping on his helmet. Her parents frantically apologize, terrified of offending the undead warrior. But Luna smiles, watching Lancelot act like a gentle guardian, making sure the kid doesn't trip. Despite his world-ending power, his kindness is top tier. Soon the mood shifts. She asks if the next mission is finding the big brother. He nods, but she's worried. She tells him to hit the brakes. He's been burning through mana and might collapse. She suggests waiting for sunrise. Taking it to heart, he looks over at Joiner's family, laughing and playing together. Joiner even vows to become a knight and join the squad. That warm sight brings a rare smile to Pablo's face. Time for some well-earned sleep. Joiner agrees, taking his daughter and setting the wake-up call for 6 a.m. sharp. Turning to his new skeletal soldier, Pablo decides it's time to build a real base. He pulls out Camelot, checking the stats. The system says it can grow or shrink, based on monostones used. Plus, it's packed with OP hidden features. Camelot devours mana to evolve. A quick calculation suggests 300 stones should suffice for a dozen people. He tosses them in, and the mystical architecture reacts instantly. The structure pulses with light and begins its rapid expansion. In a flash, it morphs into a massive fortress. While not quite city-sized, it's more than enough for their needs. Satisfied, our hero nods at the results. His sister watches in pure awe, her mind racing with questions. She wonders how many stones the Skeleton King burned to build such a colossus. Lancelot estimates it took tens of thousands. The main character realizes he could store the castle previously, only because it was tiny back then. The logic finally clicks. Turning to his sister, he offers her a chance to rest, but she shakes her head, harboring a different goal. She approaches Lancelot with a bold request. She wants to master his legendary swordsmanship techniques right here and now. Lancelot is taken aback but agrees on one condition: she must teach him her devastating martial arts in exchange. She flashes a confident smirk, warning him that her training is pure hell. Her brother can only watch and smile. He knows her obsession with combat runs deep. As they start training, the protagonist slips away to catch some sleep. He feels relieved having a powerhouse like Lancelot on the team. Fast forward to the next morning outside the portal. Soldiers swarm the area now that the barrier has vanished. They are busy coordinating logistics and reporting from the underground. The hero and his driver watch the chaos unfold. The driver notes that everyone was waiting for sunrise to move, but the hero senses something is off. Suddenly, a helicopter cuts through the sky and touches down before them. To their surprise, the commander steps out. He greets the protagonist with a calm, composed look on his face. Our hero notes they have met sooner than expected. The commander reveals he has been searching for them all night long. Once the barrier dropped, he scoured the city to track them down. The atmosphere turns tense as the hero speaks. He asks if this is a forced recruitment mission. The commander just laughs, dismissing the idea entirely with a grin. Instead, he drops a bombshell warning. Taking to the skies is a death sentence because of a military coup. The First Corps has seized the Air Defense Command. Any aircraft spotted is blasted out of the sky instantly. The news leaves both the hero and driver speechless. The commander then explains the grim reality of the situation. After leaving the city, his unit tracked the First Corps. They have already invaded northern territories like Dobong and Songbuk. They are ruthlessly crushing all resistance. The defense forces in Gangbuk have been High Command deployed drones to scout the capital, but every single one was swatted out of the sky. This confirms their air defenses are cracked, which is why he warned the hero about the danger zone. He suggests a detour through Namyangju, though he admits they are basically flying blind with zero intel there. The hero offers a sincere thanks, realizing their original helicopter plan would have been a total death trap. The commander sighs in relief for making it in time. Yet Pablo senses the situation is getting dangerously heavy. His goal was reaching Uijeongbu for his parents after a quick pit stop in Dobong to see his brother. Taking a detour means ghosting that reunion. He realizes now that monsters aren't the real problem anymore. It's the rebels, unpredictable and lethal. His family is currently caught right in the middle of a war zone. Peace is a pipe dream while this revolt rages. Eventually, he will have to crush the first unit himself. He summons Lancelot and admits to the commander that he was the one who destroyed the Skeleton King. The commander visibly trembles at the knight's aura, but Pablo promises this beast is strictly on their side. Since his brother is in Dobong, a head-on collision is unavoidable. Instead of running from the fight, he proposes unleashing Lancelot to wipe out the rebels. The commander's shock instantly shifts into pure, cold determination. He accepts the plan immediately. Meanwhile, at the rebel stronghold, soldiers resembling goblins are standing guard everywhere. One grunt mans a massive flak gun, while another sneers at a cage packed with terrified human captives. There is no mistaking it, the soldiers of the first unit aren't human. They have mutated into hideous goblins. From the shadows, one of Pablo's spectral summons watches the camp, silently calculating every move the enemy makes. It maps patrol routes and tags the prisoners. Then its eyes narrow at two very suspicious high-ranking figures. One wears a 3-star uniform, clearly an officer, but the skeletal scout cannot overhear their secret discussion. This ghost is actually one of the 12 legendary skeleton knights that Pablo has brought into existence. Through Lancelot, it manifested as a specter, no physical body, immune to damage, and able to phase through walls. It is the ultimate stealth unit, though. Summoning it costs an enchantment stone and 500 mana crystals. It costs the same as a physical summon, but once here, it can swap forms without spending extra mana. Lancelot's spirit form is a total scouting cheat code. The mission is simple: map the base and find hostages. It must count the troops, tag anti-air batteries, identify elites, and locate every single human being held captive. After 2.5 hours of scouting, the Spectre returns with a report that leaves Pablo completely shaken. The scout confirms the soldiers have mutated into goblins and are currently holding over 200 human prisoners. They are locked in iron cages as sacrifices. Plus, the guards are whispering about a mysterious VIP arrival. Apparently, this newcomer changes the entire game. A brigadier rank officer is currently the one running this entire sector. The scout identified 9 anti-air installations. The commander is floored, though he suspected their security was this tight. That level of defense explains the total intel blackout. However, Pablo is fixated on a much darker question. Why keep civilians alive? Pablo figures. The soldiers joined the rebels by choice, but the prisoners are different. The purpose of the captives remains a twisted mystery until Lancelot finally reveals the horrifying truth to them. He explains they are performing sacrifice rituals, harvesting the life force of humans to rank up their power. The camp is essentially a farm where they sign pacts with bottom-tier entities to gain strength quickly. They are harvesting lives to evolve. In short, they are butchering humans just to level up their stats. They are exploiting a system loophole, likely with help from a superior entity. Hearing this, the girl snaps. She demands an immediate raid to end the slaughter, but Pablo stops her knowing it isn't that simple. The commander agrees. The base is a fortress. If the first unit intervenes, this will spiral into chaos. It could trigger a total war. Their true capabilities are unknown, making any offensive a suicidal high-stakes gamble. Still doing nothing is a death sentence. If they wait, reinforcements will arrive, and Pablo's clock is ticking. Coordinating with other squads would take way too long. Seeing his master's hesitation, Lancelot offers a new solution. He suggests summoning another knight to neutralize the anti-air guns. Pablo just shakes his head in frustration. He is fresh out of enchantment stones. He even considers unsummoning Lancelot, just to reclaim his original stone. It is a brutal trade-off, as losing his elite scout now could jeopardize victory when every unit is vital. Pablo knows it's pointless. Duplicating resources is a no-go. Suddenly, Lancelot drops a forgotten bombshell. That Skeleton King drop, an enchantment stone. Pablo literally freezes in his tracks. His memory is a total blank. Once Lancelot confirms the handoff, the embarrassing truth finally hits. He totally fumbled the loot. Shaking off the cringe, he asks who's the ultimate knight to summon. Lancelot doesn't blink. Egita is the goat, a literal prodigy in long-range destruction. He dissects enemy lines like a pro. Pablo's sold. Meanwhile, at the enemy's hellish camp, prisoners rot in iron cages. Most are just fading away shells of their former selves. Except for one girl standing tall. A nasty goblin guard creeps up with a twisted deal. Freedom for a favor, he sneers. She glares with pure loathing, but before she speaks, his head rolls. Clean cut. It's Lancelot. He saves her and vanishes like a ghost. Seconds later, a flaming orb streaks across the sky. The goblins just stare, totally clueless. Panic explodes. That sphere nukes their anti-air turret, triggering a massive fiery chain reaction. Missile launchers go up in smoke. As the dust clears, another projectile is locked and loaded. Launched from a high-tech sling, it's a direct hit. It's Egita fighting with surgical precision. One arm, no problem. He's a whirlwind of calculated violence amidst a sea of dead goblins. Lancelot spills the tea. Egita was a legendary archer until a jealous betrayal cost him his limb. He didn't quit. He evolved, mastering his remaining arm until his skills became straight-up god tier. That grind earned him a seat among Camelot's Elite 12. Pure main character energy. Pablo skeptical. A one-armed archer, really, but Lancelot swears by his brother-in-arm's lethal aim. They've shared trenches for years. Lancelot's certain the two of them will level this entire base. Back to the chaos. Another blast rocks the earth as Igita snipes his next target perfectly. Goblins on the ridge are screaming, losing their minds. Then, out of the smoke, he appears. The skeleton knight descends like a reaper. Meanwhile, Pablo is just stacking mana stones. He's barely moving. As his knights slay, the system auto-vacuums all the precious loot. The dimensional account is a cheat code. Everything flows straight into his bag without effort. The pile is insane. He starts wondering if he's low-key breaking the laws of destiny. Joyner points out a flare bursting in the clouds. Our hero just smirks at the signal. That's the all-clear signal from Lancelot. The artillery is toast. His friend is absolutely shook. How did a skeleton clear a mission that fast? The commander watches, finally admitting the truth. With beasts like these, special forces are obsolete. Move out, he barks. Scene transition. Igita's staring at the map, but something's wrong. His memory's glitching on the next objective. Trust the gut, he mutters, wandering off. Elsewhere, Lancelot is busy rearranging a goblin's face. He's beating the truth out of the monster, demanding answers about their grand master plan. He pins the coward down, squeezing for the identity of the person pulling the strings. The goblin stammers a name 13. Lancelot pauses. Is that supposed to be a name? The monster nods, but Lancelot isn't buying the cap. He tells the goblin where to shove it. Terrified, the goblin reveals the real deal Carmelo Benedicto VI. A literal high-tier nightmare. A force so cracked 8 rangers couldn't even touch him. Lancelot wants more, but the goblin's fast. The snitch dives out the window. Instant pandemonium. The camp descends into total unbridled madness. Soldiers lose it seeing their boss bolt. Lancelot steps out of the shadows, cold as ice. Running won't save him, he warns. The guards form a desperate wall to protect their leader. They're screaming for backup, but Lancelot just laughs at their loyalty to a spineless coward. One goblin blabs about ranking up by devouring humans. He doesn't finish that sentence. Lancelot bisects him instantly. Thanks for the target list, he growls. The commander's spirit shatters. His men are mowed down like grass. The survivors are frozen, paralyzed by the Reaper's shadow. Blades slice through the clouds as a chopper bearing Pablo and his squad roars into the airspace. The goblin commander stands paralyzed, certain that the government's heavy hitters have finally arrived to end him. Pushed into a corner, he chooses a path of pure depravity, slaughtering and devouring his own soldiers to force an evolution. From his vantage point, Pablo watches the monster undergo a sickening transformation into a rank 8 nightmare. The skeletal knight scoffs at the beast's shortcut to power, dismissing the new rank 8 threat as unworthy of his blade. He leaves the cleanup to Igita, who snipes one of the commander's blazing orbs right out of the sky with effortless precision. One clean shot is all it takes to drop the beast. Instantly, Pablo banks 322 mana stones, bringing his total to 3,542. Moments later, the operation chief arrives with the sitrep. Thanks to the 2 knights, the primary threats have been neutralized and the civilian rescue is proceeding without a hitch. A soldier asks about the commander, but his words die in his throat as he spots the mangled corpse nearby. Pablo turns his attention to the skeleton knight, demanding to know if they cracked the enemy's secret endgame. Bowing an apology, the knight admits the intel was thin, yielding only the name of the mysterious entity that brokered the deal. Without missing a beat, Pablo moves toward the commander's headquarters, hoping to scavenge some high-level classified documents. Lancelot points toward the 4th-floor chambers, and the team prepares to breach and sweep for secrets. Pablo quickly assesses the situation. Manual sorting would take an eternity, so he commands Pax to digitize every military map and document into the military database. The system flags over 5,086 files, quoting a processing fee of 120 mana stones. He greenlights the transaction instantly and tells the chief his system will handle the heavy lifting, since he needs that intel processed before heading home to his family. Suddenly, a system alert pings. 2 specific documents have failed the military classification check, immediately piquing his interest. One is a dimensional being application form, which Lancelot explains is the ticket to a legitimate rank up. The second file details a shady legal loophole used to bypass the standard requirements for reaching a higher rank. Pablo is baffled that the rebels chose the back alley shortcut, despite having the official application right in front of them. The skeletal knight deduces the obvious. The rebels simply weren't worthy of the official requirements. The paperwork doesn't lie. Transitioning into a dimensional being requires a massive hoard of mana stones and a rare dimensional account items, practically unheard of in these early days of the apocalypse. But the knight reminds him that by taking down a rank 8 boss, Pablo has already secured his own dimensional account. He officially meets every condition. Signing that form means a safe evolution without turning into a hideous goblin. Furthermore, he explains that these divine forms automatically translate into the user's native tongue, proving their absolute legitimacy. Reviewing the fine print, the boy sees the 1,000 mana stone price tag. Without a second thought, he signs it on the spot. The stones vanish from his balance, and the document dissolves into shimmering light. Stunned by how fast it happened, he asks if the process is over. The knight nods. The ascension is complete. Moments later, the scene shifts as a goblin scout roars through the streets on a motorcycle carrying urgent dispatches. High above, Agita tracks the scout with a curious gaze tilting his head, as he wonders if that mechanical beast is some kind of iron horse. After sweeping the office, the team unearths over 40,000 military records. Pablo has no time for paperwork. His only priority is getting back to his family. He dumps the data dump on the chief. Since the city is crawling with rebels, rolling out in military vehicles is a death wish. They need a stealthier exit. However, checking his subspace inventory, he realizes he only has heavy military gear, not a single civilian ride. Frustrated, he settles for a basic electric bike, hoping for an upgrade along the way. But as he steps out, he finds Agita casually posing on a sleek motorcycle. Pablo is floored and demands to know where he got the ride. The skeleton points toward a dead goblin nearby, nonchalantly explaining that he just took it because the machine looked interesting. In that moment, it clicks. This was the enemy commander's personal bike, a high-spec military vehicle. Without hesitating, he stashes it in his subspace, spending 22 mana stones to prep it for future duplication. Meanwhile, at another goblin outpost, 2 sentries catch the distant roar of a powerful engine. They wait unsure if the approaching rider is an ally or a target, but they won't get a chance to react. Pablito is here. He unleashed a fireball that vaporized one instantly. The second barely turned before Lancelot materialized and took his head. In one clean sweep, they pushed through the ruined streets while a goblin scout spotted the bike from a rooftop and grew suspicious. Such a ride didn't belong in their territory, so he kept his eyes glued to them. As Pablo and his undead crew sped off, the scene shifts. He finally reached the old neighborhood, where his brother and sister-in-law stayed. He sprinted to the door, pounding it while screaming his brother's name. Zero response. Anxiety spiked as he kept banging against the deafening silence, desperate for any sign of life. With trembling hands, he forced the door open and stepped inside, only to find the entire house deserted. With his skeleton knight leading the search, they cleared every corner for clues. Then Pablo noticed something chilling. This wasn't a raid, it was a frantic, hurried escape. That's when he finally spotted it. A lone letter sat on the table. He instantly recognized his brother's handwriting, explaining that he and his wife fled to their father's workshop in Uijeongbu. Since the zone turned lethal, the phones were dead, and soldiers were snatching civilians. They were safe for now, hoping he and his sister were also okay. Reading this, Pablo exhaled a massive sigh of relief. At the very least, his family escaped before the chaos peaked. He handed the note to Agita, ordering him to find his sister. But reality hit. That letter was written before the first massive undead invasion even began, meaning they might still be alive. However, the situation in Uijeongbu was spiraling into pure madness. Rebel forces were seizing total control of the entire sector. Immediately, he turned to his skeleton knight, signaling they had to move. But just as they prepped to leave, the thrum of rotor blades sliced the air. From behind a nearby building, a massive helicopter rose up. It was piloted by that same goblin scout who confirmed the targets over the radio and opened fire without hesitation. Bullets shredded the ground, engulfing the area in smoke. Yet, as it cleared, Pablo stood there perfectly fine. He muttered about a close call, then calmly commanded his system to store the chopper as a military base. The system drained 100/1, 41 mana stones, and the bird vanished into his subspace. The goblin pilot absolutely lost it. He screamed, refusing to believe the human survived, but before he could even react, his ride evaporated beneath his feet. He plummeted, howling before slamming into the pavement. Dead on impact. Pablo looked at Lancelot. Time was ticking. As they pushed on, he couldn't help but think how insane this was. They'd wiped out every goblin, and now they had a literal attack chopper sitting in his inventory. Still, nothing mattered more than his family's safety. Elsewhere in the city, a pack of goblins were caught in a heated, angry argument. Their commander raged about how the high priest was demanding more and more human sacrifices, but they were coming up short lately. After blasting one of his soldiers for missing the quota, he turned to Sergeant Kaon, who had already fully transformed into a beast. He ordered him to level the building ahead, but right at that moment, a bike's roar shattered the silence. The goblins whipped around to see our hero charging in at full speed. It's that human again, approaching home. Pablo roared that these monsters had no right to step foot on this land. Alongside his knight, he unleashed hell, and in seconds, the ground was littered with goblin corpses. From a nearby window, Pablo's father watched the scene. Through shattered glass, his face frozen in shock. When the family asked what's up, he gasped that his son was right there riding a bike and flanked by a skeleton. Before this madness, his father's life was ordinary. He once believed life's ups and downs only mattered when shared. As a kid, his mom drilled that into him until he was sick of it. However, Years later, he realized she was right. Every business failure and betrayal hit him hard. But those who truly cared were the ones who pulled him back up every single time. As his kids grew, he dreamed of building a home where the whole family could live in peace. But when the construction bills arrived, reality bit hard. Those blueprint dreams were just too expensive. That vision slowly flickered out, buried under the crushing weight of a relentless everyday grind. Years flew by, and things finally seemed stable. His eldest wed, while his daughter became a nurse. His youngest girl pursued sports, and his baby boy finished military service. Life was peaceful, normal even. They were actually happy until the world shattered. Without warning, nightmarish monsters crawled into our reality. This hardware store owner didn't panic. He scavenged every tool and plank to build a makeshift fortress. He shielded his family through the first bloodbath, but surviving this apocalypse was no cakewalk. Rations vanished and water dried up. Every sunrise brought a more desperate struggle for breath. One afternoon, his son's in-laws stumbled upon them. Soon after, his eldest son and daughter-in-law arrived. Thanks to his daughter-in-law's unique awakening skill, they managed to cling to life a bit longer. But peace was a lie. New monstrous soldiers emerged, beings far more savage than the initial beasts. These creatures lived for cruelty, torturing anyone, men, women, or kids. They showed absolutely no mercy. Then a system notification flashed. He'd awakened a hidden class, the Architect. This power let him manifest and harden structures instantly. His buried dream was reborn as a weapon. His mission, build a sanctuary. He wasted no time reinforcing the walls and sealing every window shut. He erected massive barriers, stacking his powers with his daughter-in-laws to hold the line. Even with defenses up, the shadow of death loomed. Those brutal soldiers were lurking nearby again. They returned in force, leading a colossus that threatened to level everything he'd built. Thinking fast, he ordered his son to evacuate everyone through a secret underground passage. His terrified wife pleaded with him, but he just gave her a small, determined smile. He told her to trust him. But as they neared safety, he suddenly froze mid-step. Something outside had spiked his senses. Sensing his dread, his wife asked if things got worse. He whispered a quiet no, but his eyes told a different story. Now we're back to the present. After shredding those goblins, Pablo approaches the house with his skeletal guard. The door swings open first. His father stands there. Tears erupt as he lunges for a hug, but the mood shifts instantly. The family's joy turns to pure terror as they spot the undead legion standing behind him. Pablo quickly explains these skeletons are his own summons, loyal, mindless thralls that won't hurt a soul. To kill the tension, he points toward the shimmering portal glowing behind him. His two sisters are right there, chilling and snacking. Seeing their family, more emotional waterworks begin. After a tearful, messy reunion, Pablo ushers everyone into his private subspace dimension. Finally safe, the family sits for dinner. His mom is floored by the quality of the spread. Tasting the food, she eyes Joiner's wife, wondering if they've got a Michelin star chef on the team. Competitive spirit sparked, Mom decides to whip up a legendary dessert, a signature mama-style tiramisu. Loaded with green grapes and whipped cream, Joiner's wife takes one bite and her eyes sparkle. Mom plays it cool with a proud laugh, though she's internally screaming with absolute victory. Meanwhile, an old man approaches Lancelot, challenging the knight to a high-stakes game of chess. Lancelot admits he knows a similar game. The old man grins, excited to show him the ropes. They slip away from the noise, getting completely lost in their own strategic battlefield. Nearby, Pablo's brother hands him a glowing gem, a D-rank enchantment stone with pierce and explosion buffs. He found it after watching a majestic griffin tear through a tank-like rhino beast. He scavenged the stone from the remains, knowing he couldn't use it, but Pablo could. He trusts his brother to unleash its true potential. As he walks away, Pablo notices something grim. A jagged scar marks his brother's face, making Pablo wonder what hell they endured to survive. Then his father walks up, voice thick with emotion, as he says how proud he is. He's just eternally grateful that thanks to his son's power, the family is finally whole again. They finally reached a sanctuary where hunger and danger were just bad memories. Pablito nodded, sharing a heavy realization. Kindness and cruelty are meaningless in a vacuum. They only matter when we're together. Back when his awakening first began, he never dreamed he'd hold his family close again. But through every battle, he learned a universal truth. Everyone is just fighting to keep their loved ones safe. Gods or not, we all feel pain and hope. If we stop looking out for each other, what's left? Without that spark, our souls go dark. His father beamed, radiating pure pride at the man his son had become. Thanks, Dad, Pablo whispered, feeling like the luckiest guy alive in that moment. They called it a night drifting into well-earned sleep. Suddenly, the vibe shifts to a frantic military command center. High-ranking officials were drowning in a sea of top-secret intel. They'd barely cracked the halfway mark. The commander granted a tiny breather, but peace didn't last. A frantic soldier slammed the doors open with a bombshell. A skeleton knight on a bike just arrived, claiming his master is blitzing toward Paju. The commander froze. If it really is him, why Paju? Then the terrifying truth clicked in his mind. His face went pale as he roared. Pablo was charging straight into the rebel army's kill zone. Meanwhile, Sol was absolutely shredding her boxing workout with insane intensity. Her strikes carried enough force to rip the heavy bag off its chains, sending it soaring across the gym. She scowled, demanding a fresh bag from Pax. But he just stood there deadpan, saying everything was right on track. From the balcony above, her brother and Luna watched the chaos unfold. She's extra salty today, he noted. Big Sis sighed, explaining he'd banned Sol from the front lines. To him, the wasteland was still a death trap, even with her god-tier abilities. Instead of a real fight, he had their dad rig up that sandbag. Now she's venting all her rage. Her eyes drifted to the scar on her brother's face. He touched his cheek, realizing the wound had nearly vanished into thin air. Maybe I'm awakening some hidden power too, he joked. She just rolled her eyes totally over his theory. It was barely a paper cut, she scoffed. But he doubled down, swearing it was once a deep, jagged gash. She laughed it off, recalling a guy from the hospital who could literally hijack people's brains. Compared to a professional mind controller, his little scratch was a joke. Suddenly, Mom's voice echoed from the kitchen. Dinner's ready, come and get it. She took off like a rocket, screaming for everyone to get to the table before the food got cold. Elsewhere, Grandpa was locked in a heated gaming session in a separate room. He stared in disbelief as Lancelot, a supposed total noob, pulled off god-tier combos. Grandpa eventually caught the L and surrendered, completely baffled by the skeleton knight's skills. He begged the undead warrior for his secrets. Long story short, the old man got absolutely smoked. Back in the real world, the landscape had turned into a literal hellscape of war. Dozens of iron beasts rolled forward, turning the horizon into a wall of fire and smoke. Suddenly, a glowing rift tore open, unleashing a barrage of high-tech armor-piercing missiles. Every hit turned a tank into scrap metal. In seconds, the entire enemy formation was deleted. Pablo smirked. He'd kept the big guns locked away to avoid collateral damage to the innocent. But now that his knight confirmed the area was empty, the gloves were officially coming off. It was time for a full-scale wipeout. He'd handle the trash, while Lancelot focused on the rescue op. He instantly boosted his Black Hawk fusing upgrade stones into his missiles for insane lethality. These projectiles now blitzed at 200 miles per hour, with a massive 300-foot blast radius. With these upgrades, farming mana stones became a total walk in the park. He needed 10,000 stones to hit level 4, but his current stash left him shook. He only had 1,890. That was way too low for the goblin genocide he'd committed. That's when the system chimed in. Apparently, a 45% tax was being automatically snatched away. A tribute flows to Carmelo Benedicto, the 6th of the Mexica realm, while a 25% cut goes straight to High Priest Martin. Pablo freezes. Those names trigger a dark sense of déjà vu. Recalling Lancelot's past warnings, the Skeleton Knight suddenly returns mission successfully completed. He reports that every enemy camp is now ashes, with the archer currently evacuating the survivors. After confirming he's unhurt, Pablo wastes no time demanding intel on Carmelo and that traitorous priest. The knight explains that the Mexica dimension is a rival kingdom, much like our own world. To them, we are the Earth dimension. He adds that Martin is likely one of the ultimate traitors. These monsters sacrifice human lives for raw power. Meanwhile, a storm of system notifications begins flooding High Priest Martin's vision, detailing the massive influx of mana stones he's receiving. Martin scowls at the alert spam, baffled by the sheer volume of resources rolling in. Then explosions rock the air. Silence follows. No soldiers come to report, leaving him completely blind. Before he can react, a projectile tears through his chest, pinning him to the ground. Seconds later, Pablo bursts onto the scene breathless. He finds the body with a gaping hole, but something is wrong. A sinister red mist begins swirling. The wound knits back together. The Skeleton Knight warns that the priest is initiating a forced regeneration. In a heartbeat, the man stands up, fully restored, wearing a sickeningly arrogant smirk. Seeing a boy accompanied by an undead knight, Martin mocks him. He didn't expect goblins to speak. The priest coldly reveals those goblins were once humans consumed by their own greed for mana stones. He claims he warned them of their fate, then suggests they walk away while they still can. It's an empty mercy. He boasts he could end them instantly, but doesn't want to waste the effort. Lancelot cuts him off, declaring with absolute certainty that the priest won't even scratch his master. As Pablo studies the red smoke, the entire sky behind the priest begins to bleed into fog. Without warning, something nightmare-inducing emerges. A colossal divine eye opens above their heads. The sheer pressure leaves our hero completely paralyzed. Martin just chuckles at the boy's shock. He assumes Pablo is just overwhelmed by seeing a high-rank being for the first time. Usually these sponsors stay behind the curtain, but Carmelo Benedicto VI breaks every rule. He physically manifests in the world when summoned. The priest offers one last chance for forgiveness. He never finishes the sentence. Lancelot's blade flashes, decapitating the priest in one clean stroke. But the horror isn't over. The severed head floats back, reattaching as red energy pulses violently. The priest bursts into a manic laugh, gloating that death is meaningless against his infinite regeneration. The knight doesn't flinch. He declares his blade belongs only to his master, not some fake god. Banking on his immortality, the priest lunges. Instead of a sword, Lancelot meets him with pure physical fury. He pummels the priest with heavy fists, even knowing the man will just heal again and again. The priest mocks his own immortality between hits, but the knight is determined to force a death. Pablo watches the brutal beatdown, realizing that raw strength won't stop this divine healing factor. The infinite regen is fueled by Benedicto. If he doesn't break the cycle now, they're stuck forever. He thinks fast and remembers how he trapped the big guy in his subspace once before. If it worked on the poison, maybe it can sever this connection. He orders Lancelot to hurl the priest. The knight obeys instantly, launching the priest like a ragdoll straight into the shimmering portal. A system prompt asks for entry permission. Pablo hits accept without a single second of hesitation. Inside the subspace, Luna is vibing with her snacks when the portal suddenly flares to life. She expects her brother but screams in terror when a decrepit, dying man tumbles through. Sola appears and grabs his head, mistaking the mangled priest for her brother in the chaos. From the outside, Pablo sees her about to unleash a merciless attack and reacts instantly. He slams the portal shut, trapping her inside. Immediately, the priest's record is wiped from existence. He's purged from the subspace. Inside, the sister looms over him with a demonic expression, seeking payback. Next time he faces her, and let's be real, Pablo is way more terrified of her than he ever was of Benedict. Following the priest's demise, the dimensional account transfers automatically merging every single mana stone into one massive hoard. Pablo checks the final tally, 14,123 stones. He's floored. The priest hoarded all that wealth, solely through commissions. There isn't a single trace of any kickbacks to Carmelo Benedict. He looks up only to find the entity has vanished. Lancelot explains the high priest was the only anchor, capable of summoning it, and with the link shattered, Carmelo Benedict VI has abandoned this realm. He's likely gone for good. Our hero lets out a heavy sigh and collapses, utterly burnt out. The sheer tension and that brush with death have drained him completely, even though he barely saw any combat. Suddenly, a voice calls out. Reinforcements arrive alongside the commander, immediately asking for the first unit's leader. The boy simply points to the shriveled, mummified husk of the high priest. Meanwhile, over the radio, other units report that every goblin in the sector is dead. Leaders included, not a single enemy survived the purge. The cause remains a total mystery, but the commander issues clear orders: stay alert, keep reporting, and save the civilians. He then turns to our hero with high praise, acknowledging that he handled the situation flawlessly. Pablo just gives a sheepish laugh, admitting he's clueless why the goblins ended up as mummies. The commander apologizes for trying to force recruit him earlier. He realizes he totally underestimated the boy's potential, and now understands his power is off the charts. Still, he asks for help. Survivors are injured, and the trauma is deep. The scale of the disaster is worse than imagined. He admits the government botched the response and begs for support. Pablo agrees but draws a hard line. This isn't a deal. He's not joining the army, and any future help is strictly on his own terms. The commander smirks and offers a handshake, sealing the pact. Immediately, the commander grabs his radio and announces the hero is being promoted to honorary colonel for his legendary contribution in wiping out the armored division and for crushing the rebellion. He orders every unit to show him absolute respect and full cooperation. Pablo panics, totally embarrassed, insisting he's not a soldier. The commander just tells him to ignore it and heads off to continue the rescue. Pablo can't stop blushing, muttering about how incredibly awkward this feels. Once the commander is gone, our protagonist commends the knight's performance and tells him to stand down. But the knight asks about his archer comrade. Pablo remembers and tries to summon him through the system, but it fails. Igida is out of range. He realizes the system only works at close proximity, so he sets off with Lancelot to find him. At the same time, he spends 10,000 mana stones to upgrade his subspace to level 4, wondering what the archer is up to. Cut to the office. Igida is inside the high priest's chambers, digging through mountains of dusty documents. He looks satisfied with his haul, thinking his master will be pleased. He's found 3 official application forms to register as a dimensional being. Pablo bursts in and, scanning the papers, realizes exactly what they are: dimensional registration forms. He wastes no time thanking the archer. He knows these documents might be the only thing to appease his terrifying demonic sister. He opens the portal, and there she is, waiting with a dangerous smile that promises pure chaos. The older sister is right there too, egging her on. Before the explosion, he makes his move. He thrusts the documents forward, praying this buys him a few seconds to stabilize the situation. She takes the papers and scans them coolly, confirming they are indeed dimensional registration forms. Meanwhile, he swears he never wanted to stop her from fighting. He was just worried that the world outside was too lethal. He even shamelessly admits he loves watching her kick butt and didn't lock her up for fun. However, she ignores him, staying focused on the text. For a split second, he starts to relax, thinking he's safe until her brow furrows. There's a major catch to register. She needs a dimensional account. He tries to bluff an excuse, but he never finishes. A brutal punch sends him spinning through the air like a rag doll. Before he even hits the pavement, his level 4 subspace kicks in, regenerating his body instantly. He's completely numb to the pain. Luna watches with narrow eyes, whispering a chilling question. Can a rank 8 truly survive this? Elsewhere, the chaos of battle reaches a fever pitch. The knights begin glitching out their bodies, convulsing. Meanwhile, Seol has our protagonist in a death grip, squeezing with lethal force. Luna's scream snaps his attention as both knights drop to their knees. They're clearly suffering, leaving his sister frantic. The skeletal knight rasps through the agonizing pain. He claims an unbearable itch is devouring him, worsening every second. The nurse sister suspects a dark irony. This might be a lethal side effect of healing. Pablo realizes the truth, the underground life support system. It's flooding the area with regenerative energy, but for undead skeletons, this pure light is pure poison. The system is trying to fix them, causing an agonizing physical rejection. With a voice trembling from strain, Lancelot recalls feeling stronger inside the fortress. Without a second thought, they set their sights on Camelot. As the healing energy warps, something insane happens. The artifact spits out a pure white enchantment stone. It's basic, but it's not alone. A mysterious blue stone also manifests before their very eyes. No one saw it happen. He wonders how these gems spawn without visible sacrifices. Then he sees it. The life support system heals the knights while the artifact's blood right skill drains that same energy. It's using the healing pulse as a sacrifice for the stones. He's found a game-breaking glitch. He's unlocked a farm for infinite enchantment stones. Even so, this massive advantage doesn't feel like enough. He's still not ready for high-tier entities like that monster. For now, he focuses on the grind. Cut to a military hub where officers are dissecting captured intel. They report that the rebel forces use the national flag as bait to lure civilians. Thankfully, our hero already ended that nightmare. The threat is neutralized. Meanwhile, the commander watches the sun peek over the mountain range. Dawn has arrived, but so has the end. A system notification flashes for every human alive. It's a global broadcast. The Interdimensional Chamber of Commerce has been watching Earth's every move. They've finished their exploration phase. The report is in 13,100, and 17 people have awakened powers, though 7 unfortunate cases saw their stats go backward. Despite that, Earth is officially scouted as a high-value asset for future multidimensional projects. A second alert hits instantly. Exploration is over, and Earth is now officially a Grade B world. The next phase is about to drop. In 7 days, the bidding competition officially begins. Regional reps will lead elite teams, and the final score will dictate the rewards for the planet. If a rival dimension wins, Earth becomes a target. If we win, the perks are legendary. The full rulebook drops 24 hours before the event. Pablo knows it's a declaration of war. His family hopes it's a sick joke, but he knows the truth. This is as real as it gets. That corporation's name was already on his registration form. His mother explodes in a fit of fury, demanding to know who gave these aliens the right to invade and force them into this game. The siblings share a tense, knowing smile. He admits he doesn't fully grasp the scale of this. But it's clear Earth has been forcibly synced to a system that plays by RPG rules. Then a private message pops up just for him. The chamber is sending their congratulations. He's generated the most profit in the entire region. Because of that, he's now the representative of Seoul. For the bidding war, if he passes on the crown, it goes to the next person. His sister is shocked that he's the only one targeted. Her brother points out the obvious reality. He's officially the face of Seoul now. He also notes they'll likely be fighting alien invaders. It's exactly what everyone feared. Finally, the last notification of the day flickers on. Acceptance lets him handpick a squad of 100. He wastes no time meeting with the commander. The old man can't hide his relief. Pablo breaks it down. He needs 100 stone-cold killers to stop the alien forces set to swarm the city. He's already drafted his family and knights. Now he needs the army to provide 80 more elites. The commander breathes easy knowing he's in charge. The commander hands over a roster of awakened soldiers, granting Pablo total authority to hand-pick his defensive dream team. Surprisingly, he declines the list, requesting only a single top-tier sharpshooter, leaving the commander completely baffled. Pablo then drops a lore bomb, revealing the aliens worship a powerful goddess known as Alexandria. These zealots forge divine weapons through holy power. Suddenly, a system alert flashes, unveiling the deity's terrifying form. Her massive legions chant prayers for eternal life, while demanding the total annihilation of the human race. They view Earth as a barbaric society, though Pablo plans to show Alexandria some barbaric love later. Another alert pops up. The Dimensions roster appears, and it is insane. Every single combatant is a rank 8 powerhouse. Our protagonist realizes these won't be easy kills, even if the battle's rules still feel a bit murky. Intel says both factions will gather in the neutral zone exactly 60 minutes before the bloodbath starts. An invisible wall keeps them separated, allowing for final preparations, but preventing any pre-game skirmishes. Alexandria's squad carries a portal core destined to hatch automatically after a 12-hour countdown. Earth's only path to victory is destroying that core early, but the enemy won't just play defense. Confident in their rank 8 status and knowledge of the player list, the invaders plan a full-scale offensive. This forces humans to endure constant raids while pushing toward the core. Meanwhile, Pablo partners with the Skeleton Knight. He and his sister spearhead the assault, despite their glaring weakness: zero defense against those rank 8 monsters. The commander warns that human long-range gear is trash and won't even scratch the enemy's elite armor. Pablo tells him to trust the process. He spent the night evolving his existing skills into something far more lethal. Now he can spam multiple projectiles while unlocking hidden features within his high-tech underground laboratory. His lab now boasts a simulation system to perfectly design and stress-test weapons before production. After hours of grinding, he creates lightweight prototypes that even normal people can use to deliver massive damage. These babies are built to shred rank 8 armor. Finally, he perfects a firearm that actually meets his standards. Initially enchanting just the ammo failed, the rifles literally exploded from the raw power after only one shot. He experiments with materials until realizing the gun frames must be reinforced with rare enchantment stones. With the upgrade, durability skyrockets, allowing for 3 consecutive blasts without the weapon falling apart. He gathers the squad to drop the plan. Each rifle is a 3-shot wonder, so they need massive stockpiles. They'll hot-swap guns in the heat of battle, holding the line while the strike team charges the core. Impressed, the commander assembles an elite sniper unit and grants them 1 week to master the new hardware. While they train, Pablo and his father map out a strategic defensive fortress for the upcoming war. They design a castle base while the offensive squad grinds hard to power up their unique abilities. Using mana stones, Sol levels up her personal shield, now capable of expanding to protect her entire squad. Luna evolves a divine barrier that doesn't just block attacks, but also provides massive auto-healing to everyone inside. With preparations complete, Pablo's confidence in victory peaks. 7 days flash by in an instant. With an hour left, a portal erupts at the National Assembly as Alexandria's elite knights finally step onto Earth. They're hauling the core. Pablo recognizes it from old footage, but his gut tells him something's off. The invaders immediately start constructing 2 massive towers, designed to shield the portal core from attack. Several holy knights approach the barrier, mocking the humans because they've already scouted Earth's pathetic power levels. They know most humans are mere rank 9s, making this conquest seem like a walk in the park. They start trash-talking, promising to rip out tongues as mercy. Pablo stays ice cold. He expected this clown behavior. He bets everything on his rank 9 allies. Suddenly, the system rings out. The grand competition has officially begun. The enemy commander barks the order to charge, but the humans answer with a devastating wall of fire. Snipers unleash hell with their modded rifles, each round triggering an electric shock that paralyzes the knights. The bullets tear through holy shields, wounding the invaders and leaving them in a state of pure shock. Panic sets in as the knights activate their barriers, hoping to turtle up until the human ammo runs dry. They brace themselves behind glowing shields, desperate to outlast the relentless bombardment of high-tech lead. The snipers operate in perfect shifts. After 3 shots, they instantly swap for a fresh rifle from the armory. Reports confirm 20% of munitions are spent. Everything is running exactly according to plan. It's Phase 2. As the castle gates swing open, the strike force finally launches their assault. An enemy knight spots the movement, but his comrade insists the core is totally indestructible. They focus on holding the line. Suddenly, Archer Igita hurls a flaming bowling ball from above. It slams into the support squad, catching the enemy soldiers completely off guard. They're wiped out instantly. Watching the smoke rise, our MC confirms the operation is on track. Now to shatter the core. But wait, the enemy has summoned a massive, towering goddess statue. The divine shield holds. He fires a Hellfire missile, but the structure remains completely unscratched. Intrigued by its durability, he considers stashing it in Subspace for later. Then an elder speaks. An old knight bellows out, preaching that Earth is merely a tribute for their divine goddess. He scolds humanity's hubris. His allies scream to take cover, but he keeps preaching about purification. Amidst the chaos, Pablo spots something way more hype: the enemy's massive alien supply warehouse. Our boy's mouth is watering. Without wasting a single second, he prepares to loot it all. He orders packs to vacuum everything into Subspace. The old knight stands there frozen and confused. Calmly, our MC tells Joyner to take the chopper's controls and floor it to maximum altitude. This isn't for fun. The skeleton knight and his sister sense a lethal threat closing in. Something big is coming. The sister moves first, confidently throwing up a barrier to tank it. It shatters like glass instantly. The knight realizes these aren't your average everyday weapons. These spears use high-tier dimensional tech, mimicking the power of rare enchantment stones. They're cracked. The Holy Knights realize their stash was jacked. Enraged, they unleash a relentless barrage of projectiles. They won't stop. Each spear is buffed by a technique called blessing. It's a total onslaught. Lancelot figures out that this exact same buff was applied to those stolen building materials. Hearing this, the sister snatches a flying spear mid-air. She has reflexes like a god. She examines the loot, realizing these could be forged into some seriously legendary gear. Joiner notices the spear spam is dying down. This is the opening they've been waiting for. They take off. High above, our MC starts dropping stolen alien materials like heavy-duty bombs. They rain down on the statue. Each impact causes a massive shockwave across the battlefield. The monument finally crumbles. As the dust settles, the portal core is officially destroyed. Ding. A system alert appears. The bidding war for the Soul region is officially over. Humanity wins, rewards roll out, and 100 participants snag their dimensional counts immediately. Plus 5,000 mana stones are divvied up. Our hero isn't wasting a single moment. Using those hoarded forms, he instantly promotes his father to a legendary higher rank. His sister and driver hit SA rank too. Then a glowing document grants him exclusive rights. He now owns the lethal dimension. Suddenly, a crimson portal swirls open before the confused squad. They're totally baffled. Our MC reaches out to touch it, but a system warning blocks him. He needs to verify his license first. Then the system tries to buy back his rights. It offers him 10,000 magic stones. Our protagonist is stunned by the sheer audacity. He's shocked, then pure saltiness kicks in. They give a reward just to scam it back. He realizes the multidimensional Chamber of Commerce is behind this shady deal. They're playing him. Fed up, he shuts them down. He won't sell unless they offer a truly ridiculous price. His dad steps up from behind, asking what their next move should be. Our MC shrugs, saying that portal doesn't look useful. There's not much left to do here. His big sis notes, the paperwork is done, so she's heading off to heal the wounded. He nods approval. Then he apologizes to his pops for the sudden summon, fearing he's exhausted. But his dad just grins, saying a little paperwork is nothing. He actually feels more powerful. Our MC suggests he take a breather, advising him to retreat through the portal and recuperate. As the crowd thins out, Dad freezes, spotting a massive mountain of high-end construction materials nearby. These are top-tier resources from another dimension. Stunned, he asks why there's so much. Pablo answers bluntly. It's all theirs, an infinite supply that will never run dry. His father's face lights up like a dream come true. Meanwhile, Pablo walks off deep in thought about the contest, realizing the final tallies aren't fully out yet. Since it is a 12-hour event, he figures every region will receive their final rankings once the clock hits 0. Cut to 12 hours later, dead of night, when a system alert pings. All matches are over and the stats flood in. China snags 16 wins out of 117 regions. India grabs 24 of 129, while South Korea sweeps 4 out of 5, losing only Incheon. Global stats drop next. 761 regions entered this deadly game. Only 113 human zones survived, while 648 were crushed. Consequently, Earth's global rank plummets from B all the way to triple C. We shift to the Joint Chiefs War Room, where the commander scans the files, scowling at the utter disaster. He never anticipated such a global wipeout. Korea did okay, but he immediately calls for a troop surge. They need Incheon back. Suddenly, a soldier bursts in with a critical, high-priority update. An SOS just arrived from the 18th Division in Incheon. The commander tears into the report. Lizardmen, from the Zabros dimension, are invading. A massive portal just ripped open in Chinatown. These monsters are elite, dominating both the ground and the skies. Fighting paused before the deadline, but the Lizardmen kept funneling in more reinforcements. They're prepping a massive march straight toward Seoul. The staff realizes, this is a full-scale invasion. But why Seoul, they suspect. It is all about our main character. The Skeleton Knight eyes the map, noting the proximity between cities. They have to move now. Right then, a new system notification blares. Winning regional representatives will now have their names visible above their heads. Saul checks her brother for a tag but finds nothing, leaving everyone confused. Then, more alerts. Level 7 entities can now enter Earth, and anyone with a settlement license can open portals by killing local reps. The gravity of the situation sinks in. Every representative is now a walking target. Perhaps the main character's lack of a title is actually a massive advantage. Suddenly, the Skeleton Knight realizes something shocking. Without a word, he leaps out the window, staring up at the roof. High above floats a massive glowing sign, representative of Seoul. Everyone rushes out to look. Pablo finally gets it. His name was always there, just positioned too high to see, to notice before. His sister points out the obvious, that tag makes him a literal bullseye. For those Lizardmen, the nagging suspicion they all had is finally confirmed. The invaders knew the rules and prepped early. The skeleton knight speaks up with a theory. An unsettling thought: the lizardmen treated the auction like a long-term chess game. Win the bid, kill the rep, seize trade rights, and rip open a permanent gate. It's cold strategy, not luck. These veterans know the game and move with precision. Hearing this, Sol suggests hiding underground for a sneak attack, but Lancelot calmly disagrees. His master might be safe, but the enemy would just take human shields instead, or blackmail them into coming out. Pablo steps in, making one thing crystal clear: hiding isn't a permanent fix. The enemy will adapt. He proposes a far better plan. Pick a strong defensive spot, hold the line, then launch a devastating counteroffensive. The group is in. They'll find a stronghold, deploy their heavy hitters, and build a fortress. Sign the deal before the scales hit the fan. Time is bleeding out. Every second counts. That's when Joyner appears, boasting about his god-tier speed. He's their VIP transport, but he needs a target for the base. Pablo hesitates, finally admitting the truth: they haven't picked a spot. He needs a tactical kill zone to protect civilians while crushing enemies. A place where the horde bleeds out while he stays safe. Then it hits him. The Gion Bridge is the ultimate bottleneck. Surrounded by open parks, it makes evacuating the locals a breeze. Even if they try flanking, they're forced onto that bridge eventually. Snipers will delete any stragglers. Now, the real prep work explodes. They move at breakneck speed once the location is locked in. Using his father's architect skills, they start building an insane fortress. Dimension-hopped materials flow in, forging a wall that won't break easily. Pablo raids the Alexandria vault, grabbing supplies to stop the march. Massive barricades rise up, turning the area into a literal death trap. Perched on the battlements, his sister and the skeleton archer wait. They've got Holy Knight javelins ready to rain down absolute hell. Every defensive layer is placed with surgical, high-stakes precision. But Pablo spots a flaw. Ground troops are blocked, but the sky. Flying units remain a massive threat to their perfect little fort. 4 hours later, Dad's broken building speed completes the entire project. Yet they missed two fatal details. These lizards are elite swimmers. That wide river isn't a barrier. It's a highway past the snipers. And that dense forest, it's the perfect cloak for a sneak attack. Already inside, General Rakis sneers at the humans' pathetic little wall. His soldier reports that General Yatu is primed for the slaughter. Igita and Saul lose the trail, and that mistake proves deadly. Ambushed bullets fly, but the lizard tide won't be. The brute lunges blindly at Pablo, but a spear suddenly streaks down from the sky, interrupting his charge. It's a direct hit from our hero. Even wounded, the monster's rage keeps him pushing forward. Lancelot reads the battlefield instantly. Both enemy generals are formidable, rank 7 powerhouses. This attacker is all brawn, no brain. The real threat is Rakis lurking in the shadows. Lancelot tags Pablo to tank the brute while he goes for the head. Challenge accepted. The lizard general commands his beast forward, but Lancelot's fearless aura stops him cold. Recognizing a fellow warrior, he asks for Lancelot's name. After the introductions, things get serious. Is he ready to die today? Lancelot just smirks and throws the question right back. But first, Lancelot mocks his mount. Is he really too chicken to fight on foot? The general's pride wins out. He'll settle this face to face like a true warrior. Lancelot drops a cold line: if you're that terrified, stay up there. That hit a nerve. Boiling with rage, the general dismounts. Meanwhile, the soldiers unleash absolute hell on the horde. Lead flies, but the enemy's sheer numbers and speed are becoming a total nightmare. The squad stays locked in, shouting out targets and dodging death by mere inches. They scramble for cover to patch up the wounded without letting their guns cool down. Suddenly, the hero's sister strikes from above. Her spear sends a lizard man flying off a roof. She doesn't let him land. She dives after him and ends his life instantly. "I've got the walls," she shouts, telling the troops to keep their eyes on the front. She intercepts another climber with lethal precision while the guns roar in the distance. Elsewhere, Luna is fighting a different war, desperately trying to save a dying soldier. Every single person on the field is being pushed past their physical limits. Now the sky turns dark with reinforcements. The skeleton archer is left totally isolated. He knows he can't hold them alone. He's just praying his backup arrives in time. Cut back to our MC. He's still putting the absolute squeeze on the general. His upgraded gear is shredding through everything. Even the monster is starting to sweat. Our hero isn't even aiming anymore. He's got the whole system on full auto-fire mode. With one general pinned, Lancelot senses a shift in the air. Something is wrong. He looks back to see Rakis wielding a glowing divine spear. It's a game changer. The spear thrusts Lancelot, barely dances out of the way, retreating to create some space. The monster sneers. Is running away the only thing a warrior like you can do? Lancelot wants to clap back, but he knows that weapon is a literal death sentence. It's clearly been forged using that same high-tier tech from the Alexandria dimension. Did Alexandria make that for you? Lancelot asks. The general just laughs it off. My world forged it, he brags. Alexandria just gave it the magic to kill gods. Time for another mind game. Lancelot asks if he needs that toy because he's weak. The general doesn't bite this time. He waits for Lancelot to stumble, and it happens. Lancelot loses his footing, the monster seizes the opening and lunges for the kill. The spearhead flashes toward Lancelot's throat. It's inches away from ending it all. Suddenly it just stops. The spear rips out of the general's hand and vanishes. Yoink, our MC just used 238 mana stones to steal it into inventory. Thanks for the gift, he tells the stunned lizard. I'll put it to better use. The general is absolutely malting. He can't believe his legendary weapon is just gone. You talk about honor, then pull that dirty trick. The knight shuts him down instantly. Don't you dare speak about my master's plans, he warns. The lizard loses it. He starts screaming insults at the MC, but Lancelot just takes a chilling step forward. His foe is disarmed, masking pure desperation, with a pathetic roar of fury. A blade isn't even necessary to crush this guy. He casually tosses his own steel aside. Taking a brawler's stance, he declares the end is already written. The general erupts in mockery. But he doesn't back down, squaring up to meet the challenge head-on. Meanwhile, our main character scans his new weapon stats, and the truth finally clicks. He's just pulled a literal god-tier drop. Sensing a lapse, the beast thinks he's wide open. It jeers with a wicked cackle, asking if he's literally frozen in terror. Flexing a defense like titanium, the monster boasts that his rampage is unstoppable. Well, except for the other top brass. Suddenly, 2 spears whistle through the air, piercing his limb. His face contorts in pure horror. One of those weapons belongs to his own ally. Before he can even blink, a torrential rain of holy spears shreds the atmosphere. He hits the dirt hard. Then the system chimes. Dimensional account ownership is shifting. Everything transfers to Pablo, including 1,067 mana stones and a rare enchantment gem. It's a rank D stone with the materialization trait. Over on the front lines, the chaos continues. Gunfire erupts as soldiers mow down waves of lizardmen. The sister scans the perimeter. The ground floor is secured and the building stands tall. But then a sudden realization hits. She left the skeleton archer solo against the flying horde. She sprints back, heart racing, but she's too late. Why? Because the absolute legend already cleared the entire sky himself. Elsewhere, the skeleton knight and the general are locked in a stalemate. But Lancelot's technique is superior. He channels the spirit of a legendary world-class boxer, entering his peak combat form. A relentless barrage of strikes rains down on the lizardman, punctuated by lethal hooks. The general's guard is useless against a devastating uppercut that sends him crashing down. Standing over him, the knight demands his final words. The foe simply grins, praising the glorious fight. One final crushing blow ends it. As the dust settles, the soldiers realize the massacre is over. A frantic soldier rushes forward with an urgent update for the commander. Headquarters just sent a high-priority alert. As long as that portal core stays active, the nightmare continues. Infinite monsters are pouring through the rift. It's time for them to take the fight to the enemy. Back at base, our boy is grinding. He dumps 1,000 magic stones into his simultaneous dispatch skill. Level 3 unlocked. Now he can warp 8 items at once. He eyes that new enchantment stone. He wonders exactly how to weaponize this new power for maximum destruction. He's also got that Camelot enchantment gem waiting in the wings for his master plan. But first, intel is everything. He needs to know exactly what they're walking into. As they close in on the bridge, he locks in. They have to find that enemy core fast. Defense levels, monster types, hidden abilities, they need the full breakdown before striking. Going in blind would be a suicide mission. As they touch down, the atmosphere shifts. Soldiers snap to attention, saluting their colonel. He just brushes it off with a humble shrug. The lieutenant colonel is floored. He wiped out a lizard army with 0 casualties on their side. But there's a catch. The ops chief is away dealing with a minor crisis at headquarters. Apparently, some nasty insectoid creeps are trying to breach the command center. He doesn't sweat it and keeps the meeting moving. But the soldier has more grim news. They've found the portal, but the core is still hidden. Their sniper is already in position. The terrain ahead has turned into a toxic, misty swamp, making movement a total nightmare. He pulls up the footage, a derelict building swallowed by thick vines and ancient moss. The plants aren't the problem. It's the lizardmen lurking in every shadow waiting to strike. He realizes his skeleton knights might be the perfect counter for this ambush-heavy zone. Lancelot issues a grim warning: the current plan is risky. While mobility is high, their spiritual forms can't track enemies who remain hidden and undetected. However, Lancelot knows a specialist with the unique ability to gather intel from the shadows. Using total invisibility, without hesitation, the protagonist sacrifices 500 mana stones and a rare gem to summon the lethal assassin knight Suker. Suker is a true master of stealth, a phantom capable of infiltrating enemy lines, eliminating targets silently, and making split-second tactical decisions. He can vanish completely, though his physical body remains vulnerable to strikes. But everything changes, with the new ghostly enchantment stone allowing him to turn ethereal while invisible. Pablo immediately assigns a high-stakes mission: locate the lizardmen and infiltrate. their base, to find the portal core. The skeleton assassin accepts instantly, needing no words. Lancelot adds a final stern command: survival is the absolute priority above all else. Avoid powerful foes and return alive. No piece of information is worth your life. With those orders, the assassin vanishes into the night. The lieutenant watches him go, doubting if sending him alone is wise. Pablo remains calm, trusting his elite summon. Before they make their next move, they need Suker's intel, so the group decides to rest. As the team disperses, the protagonist notices the skeleton knight hasn't moved an inch. He asks why he won't rest, but Lancelot explains that knights feel no fatigue. Pablo then spots something strange. The knight's armor looks almost brand new again. Lancelot reveals that the power of Camelot allows his armor to self-regenerate, if given the right materials. He points to a newly formed stone with healing properties, a game-changing asset for future battles. Suddenly, the vibe shifts as Lancelot senses a hidden presence watching them from the dark. Pablo panics, fearing a lizard man ambush. The knight remains composed, admitting he feels a gaze but can't pinpoint the location. Within a heartbeat, Lancelot lunges toward a container and drags out the intruder. Before the spy can blink, he's pinned down. Lancelot holds a blade to his throat, demanding to know why he was stalking them. His life hangs by a single thread. Pablo hears the commotion and rushes over, gasping as his knight chokes the stranger. Lancelot's patience wears thin as he demands answers. Gasping for air, the man says Pablo's name, only fueling the knight's fury. Just before the killing blow, Pablo shouts for him to stop. He realizes this isn't an enemy but a friend. Meanwhile, Suker's mission begins. He creeps through Lizardman territory, stepping over piles of rotting corpses. These creatures fight for honor, like a savage warrior race. The stench of blood is everywhere. To blend in, he coats himself in gore, before entering a massive dark tunnel. He wonders why they built such a colossal entrance that's nearly impossible to guard. Inside, he spots various Lizardman squads and carefully memorizes every single position. He nearly bumps into a guard, realizing that one mistake here means instant death. An enemy appears right in front of him, but he dodges using his phantom skills. Without his liquefaction ability, he'd be dead. He must find that portal core and escape. Deep within the cavern, he witnesses a bizarre sight: a round-headed creature, talking to an old man. The assassin realizes it instantly. That creature is the core. The old man scolds the creature for interrupting his magic research, threatening a cage. Then a chilling voice echoes from the shadows. It's the Lizardman King himself. He reminds the old wizard of their pact: protect the portal core at all costs. The grumpy mage snaps back, claiming he'd only lock it up, not destroy his past glory. It's game over. Without warning, a massive tail coils around him, threatening to crush him if he doesn't stop acting useless. The mage panics and apologizes instantly, making the pressure vanish. Meanwhile, Sucre observes everything from the shadows. He realizes the old man was likely an arcane mage, now serving as the ultimate guardian for the core. The serpent creature remains a blurry mystery, but there's no doubt that's the big boss of these monsters. Plot twist: he'd been casually leaning against a camouflaged guard this whole time, without even noticing it. He figures the tunnel was built on this massive scale specifically for that giant snake. But right then, the chameleon guard starts sweating bullets. He feels an invisible weight against his leg. Suddenly, the intruder strikes, forcing our assassin to reveal himself as his stealth glitches out. The mage senses the danger at the same time. He rips open his scrolls and lets fly a magic missile that screams through the air toward the skeleton. Cut to the MC's school days. Back then, he dealt with a brat who constantly roasted his style, especially his old-school uniform. He wanted to catch a body right there, but barely held back. The trash-talking didn't stop, though. Eventually, that kid, Ming Wu, got exactly what was coming to him. Ming Wu was a loner who flexed his wealth 24/7, making everyone think he was just a stuck-up prick. So they ghosted him. One day, while he was vibing on his Switch, some bullies snatched it away, claiming a rich kid like him could just buy another. When he tried to fight back, they absolutely bodied him. Suddenly, our MC jumps in, swinging his backpack like a flail to protect the lonely rich kid. He wasn't playing hero. He just wanted to prove he wasn't someone they could mess with either. The bullies figured they were besties and targeted the MC next. But as a punch was thrown, a hand caught the bully's wrist in a death grip. It was the MC's terrifyingly strong older sister. She looked at them with pure disappointment and ordered her brother to join her morning workout routine. Left with no choice, he walked off, leaving the four-eyed kid behind. After a few steps, he glanced back over his shoulder and asked if he was coming along or what. From that day on, they were locked in. They survived middle school together and stayed connected through different high schools. Years later, their paths crossed again during a totally random afternoon at university. Between gaming sessions, his buddy confessed he'd joined a dojo after being inspired by the siblings' training. He grinded through college, and now he's officially awakened as a high-tier swordsman in the present. His friend tells him to stop acting shocked. After all, he's literally the representative for the entire city. He wasn't sure of the MC's identity, so he'd been tailing him until things went south and the skeleton captured him. The skeleton knight is spiraling, dropping to his knees in a shame-filled penance with no plans to stand up. The MC knows he won't stop, even if ordered. The knight chose to carry this heavy burden himself. Drowning in guilt, the knight curses his own failures, feeling completely unworthy of his prestigious title. When asked about his mother, the friend hesitates, admitting he's clueless if she's even still breathing. Sometime later in Lizardman territory, the skeleton knight storms a hideout with one goal in mind: rescuing Ming Wu's mom. He swears he's one of Pablo's loyal knights and promises to reunite the family. The apocalypse tore them apart, with a transparent barrier, a brutal side effect of the ongoing power struggle. He joined the army hoping to find her, but after their defeat, the entire zone became a restricted dead zone. Even though the land was terraformed, there's a slim chance she's alive since the process isn't lethal. Still, it's a suicide mission, since it's enemy territory. The skeleton knight decides to carry the mission alone. Everything is going smooth until he spots the assassin skeleton running for his life. A pack of lizardmen is closing in. The skeleton yells a desperate warning, running is their only shot. But the knight knows it's over. Looking at his squad, he realizes there's zero chance of a clean getaway. The enemy is too fast. Without missing a beat, he commands the assassin to fall back immediately. He must escape with the mother and bring the intel to the hero. The knight will hold the line alone. Before they split, he drops one last message. Tell Pablo, the enchantment stone will be much better. Make sure Pablo knows that using the enchantment stone is the superior move for the next phase. Percival tries to speak, but Lancelot cuts him off. The message is crystal clear. There's zero time for debate. The assassin nods and bolts, leaving the knight behind. Gripping his sword, Lancelot plunges into the fray without hesitation. He won't back down. Driven to prove his loyalty, he stays. Soon the assassin returns with his friend's mother. Mission accomplished. Seeing her safe, her son breaks down in absolute relief. But the peace is shattered. As our main character waits for Lancelot, a system alert flashes. His spirit has been defeated. A heavy, suffocating silence hangs over them both. Later, the main character stands with the assassin, absorbing the brutal truth of the battle. The loyal knight sacrificed his existence to save the mother and deliver the message. He isn't truly gone, but reviving him with magic stones will be a nightmare. Guilt hits hard. Did he push Lancelot too far into a death trap? Sucre finally relays the knight's dying wish. The enchantment stone belongs to Percival. The main character freezes as memories flood back. Who truly deserves this legendary power? It clicks even at the end. The knight's heart was purely for his comrades. Hiding his grief, he praises Sucre's courage and demands every detail of the sacrifice. Meanwhile, the scene shifts back to the dark depths of the cave. The mage clutches Lancelot's shattered helm, sensing a powerful necromancer or lich behind this. The leader gloats about capturing a 7th rank powerhouse, hoping to cripple their foes. The mage snaps back, demanding gratitude, instead of praise for cleaning up their mess. The serpent leader stays silent, radiating pure annoyance as the tension reaches its peak. Calling him a useless savage, the mage asks about the precious enchantment stone. The leader has no plans. With his generals dead, his best options have vanished. The mage smirks, offering to trade the stone for the ultimate magic scroll. High-tier scrolls allow non-mages to wield godlike power, often surpassing rare upgrade stones. Their value is insane, making them more coveted than third-class enhancement materials. But the serpent scoffs at the mage's work, calling his living seals flawed. He'd rather trade for weapons. The mage explodes, cursing the leader's total ignorance. He rants about his genius while calling the serpent a primitive beast. The leader counters that if rejecting dark arts makes him a savage, so be it. Discussion over. He'll use the stone to bargain with the Alexandria dimension instead. He warns the mage only use provided prisoners. The mage calls him insane. Suddenly, a loud crack echoes. The rock wall shatters into pieces. A massive skeleton knight towers over them. His voice booms Percival. The mage recognizes him as an enemy seeking vengeance and grins wickedly. Time for a test. He unleashes a high-level 2-cycle fireball scroll. A massive explosion rocks the cave, but Percival emerges from the smoke unscathed. The mage panics trying to cast again, but his magic completely fizzles out. Horror strikes as he realizes his entire arsenal of scrolls is gone. A system alert pings for our hero, all magic scrolls successfully plundered. Burning through 3,914 stones, the hero smiles. A perfect heist. He commands his knights to finish the job as Percival's radio crackles to life. Inside the cave, the mage screams in terror, hunting for his stolen power. But it's too late. The shadow assassin has already closed the distance. One clean strike sends the mage's head rolling across the cold stone floor. Mission complete. The hero's cold justice has finally reached his enemies. With ice-cold composure, he drops the bombshell. He's the one who already ended him. Our MC previously grilled Sucre about a hidden mage, and the answer was a serious yes. Sucre witnessed it personally. The name Silzon, an ancient arcane sorcerer, cast out into exile. Pablo finds it curious. The Skeleton King mentioned Arcane too. Everything is starting to connect. The Archer Knight explains the lore. Arcane mages have 3 tiers, and even the lowest is rank 6. His sister's jaw drops. If the bottom tier is that cracked, the high ranks must be absolute monsters. Then the assassin adds a twist. Being exiled stripped the old man of his ability to cast magic. His sister scoffs at this, thinking a mage without mana is about as threatening as a kitten. The assassin continues, noting he likely lost his rank too. Taking him down shouldn't be hard. But there's a catch. Old man Silzan still has one deadly trick left: magic scrolls. The revelation stuns everyone. The assassin explains that scrolls store immense preloaded magical power. Even basic spells stay dangerous because anyone can trigger them instantly. It's a literal cheat code. Furthermore, the old man crafts them himself. He has an entire arsenal locked and loaded for war. Pablo identifies 2 key intel targets. Do other lizardmen have them? And what spells are inside? The assassin doesn't have a clear answer, but vividly remembers their previous life-or-death clash. The scene shifts to that memory. He was targeted directly, barely dodging a spell before vanishing. Even then it felt wrong. Why would a master mage rely on paper instead of his own magic? He stayed in the cave to sniff out the truth. Suddenly, the chameleon sensed a hidden intruder. It suggested sounding the alarm. The assistant agreed, but the assassin didn't give them a chance. He seized the opening, silenced the assistant, and revealed himself to drag out some information. With zero hesitation, he lunged again, claiming the chameleon's head as a trophy for his mission. Meanwhile, Silzan was seething with frustration, cursing his useless minions for failing to catch one rat. He ranted about having to do everything himself, and the grueling process of crafting each scroll. Back in reality, Sucre concludes that the mage hunted him all the way out of the cavern. This chase was vital. It let them measure the strength of both the mage and the lizardmen. But that intel came at a price. Lancelot is gone. Pablo assures him the information was crucial. Without it, they'd be walking blindly into a trap. Now the focus shifts, destroying the portal core. Higita notes that if scrolls aren't used often, they must be incredibly difficult and slow to manufacture. That's why Silzan hoards them. The lieutenant adds that both the snake and mage were guarding the core. Their top priority was clearly protection. Yet it's strange that the old man left his post to chase. There are only 2 logic paths. Either their defense was trash, or they were desperate to hide secrets. They used everything they had to stop the leak. Pablo realizes that capturing Silzan makes everything easier. He reveals a master plan. Upon reaching the 3rd floor, he unlocked the Categorize ability. This lets him organize objects based on specific criteria. Previously, he was capped at only 3 categories. He couldn't create new ones, which meant he couldn't store items that didn't fit his current slots. That's exactly how he swiped the Holy Spear. He simply classified it as construction materials. Defeating the traitor boosted his subspace to level 4, allowing for infinite new categories. His big brain move put the scrolls into their own category. His storage skill works from a distance. This means Silzan's arsenal isn't safe even deep inside the cave. Pablo's about to rob him blind. Pablo organizes the attack. He assigns his sister and the new Great Knight to the assault team. The Knight is an absolute beast, tearing through the enemy front lines like they're made of wet paper. Mid-chaos, Sucre slips through the shadows, closing in on the mage for a silent execution. The giant serpent feels a faint tremor in the air, but brushes it off as a non-threat. Big mistake. In a flash, the entire battlefield shifts as the Knight barrels toward the objective. The serpent watches as the warrior charges directly at the heart of the portal core. Before he can reach it, a massive tail slams into him, sending him flying. Sucre recovers instantly, knowing he must breach the core now. But the serpent strikes again, swatting him aside. Worry sets in, as these knights weren't in any of his intel. This means there might be warriors, even more broken in this army. Without hesitation, he grabs the core and flees. The assassin stares at the crater in shock, wondering how he ghosted through solid rock. Meanwhile, the serpent switches gears. It can't solo the army, but taking out the leader, that's the play. It locks onto him via that massive hovering tag. Suddenly, it lunges forward, with the intent to swallow him whole. Inside the chopper, our main character remains cold as ice. He orders the system to deploy a construction beam. A massive steel girder drops like a missile, punching through the snake's maw and pinning it down. But the beast isn't finished yet, coiling its tail to shatter the beam into scrap metal. That's when it clicks. This attack came from materials within that cursed dimension. From above, the boy sees the serpent is still standing. He tells the pilot to fall back while spamming more beams. But the monster starts spinning, parrying every impact. Using a skyscraper as a springboard, it scales the building with terrifying speed and sprays toxic venom at the chopper, melting the hull. The pilot watches in horror as the glass warps. Before the acid destroys the bird, Pablo tells the system to recall it. In a blink, the chopper vanishes and reappears through a portal perfectly restored without a single scratch. The serpent is absolutely shook by such a broken ability. Pablo realizes that no matter how many times The chopper takes a hit, he can just summon a fresh one. But there's a bigger problem. Those steel beams aren't dealing enough damage to this monster. As tension rises, he wonders if it's time to break out a special weapon. Suddenly, a spear crackling with lightning streaks across the sky and buries itself in the serpent's chest. The beast freezes, recognizing the spear of Rakis. Before it can process the pain, a second spear impales its body. Its eyes widen in disbelief. How does this kid have two holy spears? Then the main character activates second circle ice magic. A massive frost spear manifests and fires, slamming into the serpent and freezing its scales. The monster roars in agony as the truth hits. These attacks are coming from storage scrolls. It screams that this won't stop it, but the protagonist sees it clearly. The beast was stunned. As the snake tries to counter, he triggers a product recall, vanishing into a portal with his team. The creature can still see that massive tag in the sky, but Pablo has vanished. Pure confusion sets in. Is this another one of his hacks? But then, out of nowhere, the main character and his team exit a different portal, each clutching magic scrolls. No more games. They unleash a second circle magic barrage. Dozens of ice spears rain down, burrowing deep into the serpent's flesh. Declaring the monster has finally fallen, he orders a full retreat. He tells Pax to recall the Black Hawk. The team boards the chopper through the rift. As they gain altitude, Pablo sees the serpent is still locked down by the frost spears. This is the perfect chance. He opens another portal, and everyone spams spells without mercy, raining destruction on the beast. Once the smoke clears, he's standing right on top of its corpse. Staring it down, he demands to know why they're invading. With its life fading, the serpent wheezes that they didn't have a choice. He presses for answers, but the snake remains vague. One day, they'll be the ones invading other dimensions. That's just how this system is designed. With those final words, the beast dies. Immediately, a system notification pings. His account has been credited with 6,911 units. Since he already has an account, the funds are auto-added, bringing his magic stone total to 17,668. With the boss down, the boy can't help but wonder about that no-choice warning. But then the assassin strikes, even though the main threat is gone. The gate core is still intact. He remembers the serpent swallowing it earlier, likely as a last-ditch defense. Pablo realizes it instantly. The core is buried deep inside the carcass. Sucre tells him not to sweat it. They are pros at carving up beasts without wasting a second. He charges toward the serpent's maw. They snag the core fast. Our hero scores another 33,638 mana stones. Suddenly, the terraformed world starts flickering away. The assassin drops one more crucial, chilling detail. While hunting the core, he found enchantment stones. The boy grabs them and puts them to use immediately. Time to officially reinstate Lancelot into his ranks. Under the blazing sun, the skeletal knight stands tall. Looking at Pablo, he credits the win to him, admitting he should have said so much sooner. Lancelot humbly replies that he simply did what any honorable true knight would have done. He claims no thanks are needed, but Pablo pushes back. Doing your duty isn't always that easy. He needs to learn to take a win. Suddenly, the roar of helicopters fills the sky above. Only Incheon fell during the brutal gate wars for territory, but now they have finally taken it back. Most invaders are wiped out, but don't get comfortable. The area still isn't entirely safe yet. Weak mobs like orcs and birds still linger. Restoring peace will take a while. Shortly after, the boss hops off a chopper and calls for him. It is weird seeing anyone but the director. He explains he rushed over because the exotic terrain is vanishing right before their eyes. More supply choppers are coming soon. Then he spots the massive carcass at the hero's feet. It is the Lizardman King. He is totally floored, wondering how on earth they actually pulled this off. Later, a steaming plate lands in front of the boy. His eyes literally light up with hunger. He is practically drooling. It's been years. It all started after his friend's mother was finally rescued. Once safe, she was rushed underground for treatment by the nurse sister. As a big thank you, she wanted to treat them to dinner, but the sister claimed everyone was already well fed. After pushing the issue, she discovered the brother's secret skill. Intrigued, she mentioned a close connection. A friend is a chef who could help. That friend, the legendary world-renowned chef Shigyu himself. Using the logistics center's infinite stash, he whipped up gourmet dishes packed with intense flavor. Despite endless ingredients, each dish is a one-time craft. So the boy hoards them in his inventory. This lets him spam rations instantly now that Incheon is finally free from the lizardmen. They feast, but mid-meal, the brother's wife suddenly clutches her mouth, looking totally sick and uncomfortable. The worried nurse asks if it is indigestion, but she insists she is totally fine. Her face stays tense after the checkup. The sister drops a wild theory about her condition. Could these be signs of pregnancy? Later, dinner ends and the husband stands up to announce something. It is confirmed she is pregnant. The crew goes wild, and the driver starts celebrating with pure hype. He jokes that our hero is officially an uncle. Pablo's awkward smile says it all. He is stoked. He feels like he is finally growing up. But in his world, peace is just a fleeting dream. Mid-convo, the colonel leans in and whispers to Pablo, An urgent message just pinged from headquarters. It is the boss, and he needs an answer now. Pablo picks up and gets the heavy news. The terraforming process is still surging. The boss has already looped in both China and Japan. Both nations face massive terraforming that is spilling over borders. They are each fighting different nightmares. China is choking on toxic gas from Beijing, while Japan battles lethal poisoned waters from Fukuoka. Pablo asks, which is worse, and the boss admits that both situations are absolutely catastrophic. But the Beijing gases are the priority, even if the poison hasn't fully expanded yet. Freakish insects are already surfacing. It is only a matter of time before the gas follows. The Beijing portal must be sealed immediately. Reinforcements are ready, but they can't win this alone. He asks for help, sounding almost embarrassed. Pablo cuts him off. There is zero time to hesitate. If they stall, Korea becomes a wasteland. He is in, obviously. But one nagging doubt remains. Sneaking into China is a diplomatic death wish, but the boss doesn't give a damn. He orders the 3rd security group to gear up for a midnight raid and hangs up. No way he's letting his future nephew grow up in a wasteland of poison and monsters. The vibe shifts. It's time to hit the reset button and restore the Earth's glory. He commands Pax to overclock the subspace, and the system executes the upgrade instantly. 10,000 monostones are burned to level up his dimension, unlocking god-tier features. A permanent portal costs 1,000 stones. He hits authorize without a second thought. The portal is live. It's fixed in place, but it's a total game changer for logistics. This link becomes his ultimate trump card for instant transport and tactical defense. His buddy laughs, calling the whole setup a literal cheat code for world domination. Target Beijing first, then Japan. Pablo confirms the plan with stone-cold determination. His friend grins, acknowledging his world-class status and offering backup whenever things get dicey. Turns out he's awakened as a swordsman, even if he's still hiding his true peak. They trade a quick stay safe before Pablo heads out on his next legendary mission. At Incheon Airport, the captain pings a mechanic named James, working under a massive jet. He alerts him that the elite China strike team has officially touched down. A grease-covered hand reaches out from the landing gear as James grunts a reply. Captain Park greets Pablo with a salute, getting straight to the point like a pro. He reveals their ride, a C-130J modified for high-stakes infiltration. This beast looks like it flew straight out of a blockbuster spy movie. It's being kitted out to survive monster ambushes, ensuring they don't get swatted mid-air. Takeoff is imminent. Pablo spots movement under the plane and asks about the crew. The captain shakes his head. It's not a team, it's just one absolute genius. James is the sole engineer carrying the weight of the entire maintenance operation. Speak of the devil, and the man emerges from the shadows of the hangar. James is an absolute unit, his sheer physical presence, demanding respect from everyone. Using a mana stone to translate his English, he begins talking shop with surgical precision. He breaks down the technical upgrades, detailing every lethal modification he's bolted on. He focused on the underbelly, the prime target for any flying predator in this apocalypse. A former aero engineer turned awakened mechanic, he's the god-tier support Pablo needs. Even our MC is low-key impressed as they finish the final walkthrough of the bird. After the tour, Pablo offers the legendary mechanic some high-quality rations to fuel up. James just shrugs it off with zero emotion, claiming he's already full. No ego, no gratitude, just pure indifference from a man obsessed with his craft. Pablo commands the system to despawn the food, finally catching the engineer's attention. Seeing the high-tech storage in action cracks the mechanic's stone-cold poker face. Our hero smells an opportunity. This guy doesn't want food, he wants legendary machinery. He offers him bikes and infinite tech, proposing a spot on his elite squad. James plays hard to get, citing a lack of trust between total strangers. But as Pablo walks away, the mechanic stops him. He's got one burning question. Can I use my skills with total freedom? Pablo's yes is all he needed. James agrees, but only if he gets a one-way ticket back to America. Pablo warns him about the detour through China and Japan, but James is down. As long as he hits his destination, he's all in. Time for a leadership flex. Pablo summons dozens of Black Hawk helicopters from thin air, leaving James absolutely speechless. That flex was absolute. He just turns on his heel, strolling away like he didn't just break reality. Tossing one last line over his shoulder, consider that your sign-on bonus. The engineer stands there completely frozen, reeling from what he just witnessed, and wondering what kind of broken cheat code Pablo is hiding. Later, the squad finally prepares to deploy. The intel wasn't capping the situation in China is straight up critical. Massive insects are swarming entire skyscrapers. They touch down on a ghost highway, and without wasting a second, dive straight through the portal. Anchelot emerges first, scanning the perimeter with lethal focus, before giving the all-clear signal. Right behind him, our MC steps through wearing a gas mask. Since the air is saturated with lethal toxins, it doesn't take long for a new player to appear. Cho Huan arrives to greet them, signaling the start of a whole new level of conflict. Thick, poisonous smog chokes the ruined city skyline. Cho Hwan frantically slams the door shut, letting out a massive sigh of relief when he realizes those giant bugs didn't follow them inside. He apologizes for the trashy hideout, admitting it's a dump, but our MC just shrugs it off. Telling him it's fine, he notices survivors nearby whose bodies are literally glowing with energy, wondering what their deal is. Cho Hwan raises a hand explaining that they are burning their internal chi to purify the air, making it safe enough for everyone to ditch the masks. He clarifies that this sick skill belongs only to those who awakened through the path of martial arts. Across China, ancient hidden sects have kept their traditions alive for countless generations. But when the monsters invaded, some of these disciples awakened unique abilities, distinct from regular awakened ones. While others got subspace storage or healing powers, these martial artists mastered internal energy they could manipulate at will. That raw power turned them into absolute beasts on the battlefield, so the government recruited them to stop the threat. Leading them is Cho Hwan, the legendary Mistblade. He reminds the team that not all martial awakeners share their ideals, even if the government drafted many, to defend the nation. Worse, regional beef makes things even messier. In Beijing, for instance, 2 bid wars went down and their enemy crawled out of a dimension called Beelzebub. Pablo notes that since Beijing is double Seoul's size, it's no surprise they've got multiple wars going on. As they talk, the man admits they're flying blind, with zero intel on their enemies. The real nightmare is the toxic gas from the monsters. It's instant death for normal soldiers, and even for awakened ones without internal energy. One breath and it's game over. Martial masters can neutralize the poison, but it drains their energy like crazy, making them too weak to fight. Since they lost the bid war, those portals were blown wide open, letting swarms of insects flood in. Constantly detoxing the air leaves them at a massive disadvantage. In a long fight, they need clean air fast, and time is ticking as the gas keeps spreading. Hearing this, Pablo just smirks and casually steps into his subspace. He's got massive stockpiles of fresh air in his base, so he hits the lab to mass extract it and register it as a product. Now he can pump out infinite clean air. In seconds, a fresh breeze floods the entire building from below, and the survivors finally take a breath of relief. Cho Hwan stands there, staring at the portal, completely stunned, unable to process this miracle. When he begged Korea for help, he had zero expectations. He thought anyone without chi would drop dead in the gas, so he expected a rejection. But the high command was dead serious when they said their colonel was already on his way. He thought they were delusional, but seeing this madness with his own eyes, he realizes he was wrong. He immediately apologizes to our MC for doubting him, vowing to keep the gas away from their borders. Pablo, feeling a bit awkward, tells him to chill, because none of this chaos is his fault. Cho Hwan then mentions they'll need a few days to recover their drained energy. The lead gives the green light. Boom, a spread of gourmet dishes appears, and the squad finally digs into a well-earned feast. Plates cleared, it's time for a strategy meeting. Hwan breaks down the different insect variants they're about to face. These bugs have a hierarchy. Most are rank 8 or 9, but a few elite rank 7 threats are lurking. To spot the heavy hitters, you've got to look for the freaks. Anything with unusual features is dangerous. Common-looking bugs are usually just fodder. Right after that, he pinpoints the portal core's location as everyone locks in. Suddenly, the skeleton knight glares out the window. He senses a threat and alerts the team immediately. There's something twisted prowling nearby. Seconds later, they spotted a massive nightmare fuel centipede. It's a literal titan. Judging by that aura, it's definitely one of those dreaded rank 7 beasts. Pablo can't look away from those twitching endless legs. It's absolutely skin-crawling. They were gross when they were small, but at this size, it's a pure, oversized horror. He's losing it. How can something that massive move that fast? He swears it's at least a rank 6 catastrophe. But Cho Hwan shuts him down. It's not rank 6, but 8th rank, he clarifies, leaving him totally stunned. Pablo is floored. There's no way something that terrifying is actually such a low-tier mob. Cho Hwan smirks. Despite looking like a final boss, this thing is actually a total glass cannon. Among insects, centipedes are the bottom of the food chain. Their size is just a bluff to scare rookies. Right then, Soul breaks in. Level 8, say less. That's the perfect warm-up for me. She's dying of boredom and itching for a fight. She claims the kill before anyone can even blink. Her brother tries to play it safe, but she's not sitting this one out. She's going in. Pablo watches her vault out the window into the abyss. Go get him, he roars, hyped to see her go off. Cho Hwan is sweating with worry, but Pablo stays chill. He knows exactly what his sister is capable of. Still, Hwan points out the lethal reality: the air outside is thick with soul-corroding toxic gas. Then it hits them. She didn't take a mask. She's out there completely exposed to the poison. Down below, Saul's fist crackles with pure electricity. She's grinning like a maniac before unleashing a thunderous strike. Hwan watches from the shadows, heart racing. The gas is a ticking time bomb for her stamina. Plus, that centipede's armor is like tank plating. A basic punch shouldn't even dent it. He has to move. He barks orders at his disciple Long Wan. It's time for a high-speed rescue operation. He'll draw the aggro while she extracts and heals the girl before the poison takes hold. But before they can jump, a deafening explosion rocks the entire building. Everyone scrambles back to the window. Cho Hwan is frozen in shock. The centipede's head, absolutely vaporized in a single hit. One-shot kill. Sol stands over the carcass, laughing and soaking in the thrill of her own power. Hwan's mind is blown. Even he would have to channel massive internal energy just to crack that shell. So how did she just shatter it with raw physical force? It makes zero sense. The disciple mentions the righteous fist style, but Pablo shrugs. To him, it was just a regular punch. Cho Hwan starts thinking, could she have a divine physique? A body literally forged for the peak of martial arts. But the hype ends instantly. The girl suddenly coughs up blood and collapses to the ground. Move! Hwan screams to his disciple, save her. Later, the squad regroups to assess the damage. The centipede ambush messed up the timeline, but they can't afford to stop now. They pivot the plan fast. Hwan makes it clear they push forward, no matter the cost. The hurdles are insane, the poison gas is a massive debuff, and the insect swarm is endless. Soloing this is suicide, and telling the ranks apart is a nightmare. Plus, they only have 3 days left. The new mission, high-stakes stealth. Avoid the mobs and charge straight for the portal core. They know where it is, but the closer they get, the more the insects go into a berserker frenzy. These bugs aren't smart, but their defensive instinct is savage. Protecting that core is their only goal. It's a suicide mission, but it's the only play they've got. To prep, Hwan decides to level up Sol's skills. He introduces her to his disciple. Time is running out, so it's time for a high-tension sparring match. He wavers, questioning the necessity. The student insists it's a total win-win for both of them. She warns him not to sleep on her, only her master scales higher. Sister lunges instantly. Speeding forward, she infuses every strike with raw energy. The high-stakes sparring session ignites. Cho Hwan watches proudly, tracking every pro move. To Pablo, though, it's just business as usual. Basic haymakers like the ones he's tanked 1,000 times before. Cho Hwan notes her sword potential is insane. He even offers to teach them elite bladesmanship. Pablo passes for himself but asks for his friend. Meanwhile, the sister keeps evolving. Lacking internal martial energy, she overclocked her movements using barrier energy instead. Her learning curve is cracked. Progress explodes, and Cho Hwan can't hide his immense pride. Non-stop grinding, shattered barriers, and brutal brawling. Seeing their growth sparks a fire in Pablo. He refuses to be left behind. Armed with mana stones, he starts crafting upgraded swarm gear. His subspace hit level 5, unlocking god-tier features. The lab is now level 3. He runs holographic simulations before forging. First up, testing an electric exterminator. It's trash against tanky bugs, and high-voltage models are too pricey. He hits a wall. Suddenly, his sister-in-law strolls in. She confidently claims she can solve this headache. He's skeptical until he remembers. She's an awakened alchemist with serious talent. She's the reason they have clean water. Turns out she's been grinding in his lab. She asks about the poison specs. Pablo eyes the massive centipede corpse and answers. He wants the ultimate pesticide, something to erase every single monster from existence.